corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, a triple header Tuesday for yours truly. And buddy, when we get ready for this fine program, I'm always like the last guy you want to talk to.
I know, man. Come on.
Why would we collaborate? I thought this was a collaboration.
If we do too much collaboration, too much preparation, it will seem scripted. And we don't do scripted, Crute.
We certainly do not do scripted. Dominic, something of a collaboration going on at the Wisconsin State Capitol today. Tony Evers, Mandela Barnes, went and met with the Republican caucus. And I don't mean just the Assembly Republicans. I mean like the whole caucus, the Senate, the Assembly, all the evil Republicans in one room. And then immediately thereafter, Tony Evers came to a little press conference at the Assembly Parlor. I was there. We're going to bring our fine audience the coverage thereof. But Dom, I am shocked Tony Evers was not wearing a kick me on his back when he entered the room.
What? Someone slapped him on the back with the kick me sign? Come on.
Hey, you're doing a hell of a job, Tony.
Hey, way to go, man. Thanks for coming around.
Perhaps the staffer found the kick me sign before Tony came in and joined the press. And then, Dom, I went up and I heard the response, the Republican response. So, in order of appearance this morning, I heard the Democrats, Gordon Hintz and company, including Senator Dave Hansen. I heard the Republicans, and in the middle of that little sandwich, I heard Tony Evers. So we've got plenty of coverage here for this, the Tuesday edition, the triple header Tuesday edition, and also some Walker bashing this hour, Dom. It's been far too long. It must have been, since like Friday.
Friday, yeah, I know. Our audience is craving some Walker bashing, Crute. You know we love it here.
Well, you know how the progressive left, they love them some AOC. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, well, she lit up Scott Walker's ass this afternoon, and we will share that in the 2 o'clock hour. We will Walker bash, I promise. And Don, we're also going to have an appearance, a fine state rep, our friend Melissa Sargent. Dom, if history serves, if memory serves, Melissa Sargent, when we've asked the question, historically, would you support the legalization, the taxation, the regulation of marijuana? Would you be for it? And who is the first appearing interview subject that ever said yes?
Our pal Melissa Sargent was all for it, did not hesitate, absolutely.
And she's been a friend of the Devil's Advocates ever since.
Right.
Melissa Sargent coming up on this big show at 3:30, and not to put a full cannabis color on this show, Don, but we're also going to have Eric Marsch, our friend from the southeastern Wisconsin Normal, and he's going to join us in the 4 o'clock hour, somewhere close to the 4:20 break.
Funny how that all works out like that. He's going to come in studio.
And Don, we're going to talk about their efforts, the Normal efforts to pressure the governor of the state of Wisconsin to put legalized marijuana in the budget. They had lots and lots of people join them in an action emailing to the newly elected Governor Tony Evers. Well, I saw Tony this morning, but let's start with the Democratic press conference. It's going to be a big show. I'll just say that. Starting with the Dems, Gordon Hintz went first. He is the caucus leader, if you will, at least on the Assembly side. And Dom, he kind of led with this thought. Good policy requires good governance. We'll see. We'll see. Cut 80, Gordon Hintz.
Good policy doesn't happen without good government. We've seen state government increasingly be disconnected from the public that it was elected to serve. The priorities of the Republican legislature over the last 8 years do not reflect the priorities of the public.
Well, a very few of the public, I'm sure it represents. Certainly not most of the public.
But perhaps a check-writing portion of the public.
Their favorite portion of the public.
We call those Republican campaign contributors. More of Gordon Hintz, the caucus leader, if you will, on the Democratic side, in the minority, cut 81.
Perhaps no example demonstrates this more than the contempt shown for voters than the recent lame duck session that undermined the democratically elected governor and attorney general. It doesn't have to be this way. That's why Democrats are prioritizing measures that restore how democracy is supposed to work.
Now, Dominic, I would point out the Democrats showed up for this press conference, and there were lots of Democratic state lawmakers in attendance in the Assembly parlor, and their one visual aid, something of a Venn diagram, if you will.
Was it properly utilized, Michael, unlike former Governor Walker's Venn diagram?
I think it had like corrupt GOP in the middle of it. You know, it's the centerpiece. And all the bad governance, that was all just, spokes, if you will. It looked more accurate than the one Governor Walker used to try and rationalize his justification for the lame duck. But all in all, I think it was an effort at snark. And it was well received, even the media. We were having a little chuckle amongst ourselves, all the fine press members, and me.
Play 82, will you, Brian?
Again, good policy doesn't happen without good government. We've included a Venn diagram for you to see.
Now, I did ask one question at the early press conference. Doesn't look like we've got that sound. Do we have that sound, Brian?
Yeah, we got it here somewhere. Brian, you know which one it is? You want to go there right away?
Well, I did ask Gordon Hintz a question about his Venn diagram. It would seem like the appropriate time. I pointed out, I said there's one. We don't have that sound?
We have your campaign finance law question.
Well, that was about the Venn diagram. I'm pointing at his.
All right.
I guess you weren't there for the visual portion. I'm pointing at the chart. I'm pointing at the Venn diagram. I'm sitting, kind of over by the Venn diagram. And I said there's one portion of the Venn diagram that is conspicuous by its absence: coordination with dark money third-party groups. And the uniquely corrupted campaign finance laws we have here in the state of Wisconsin. Gordon, what you got in this package of legislation that's going to change that? Play it for the people, Fancy Brian. Gordon Hintz's response to Crute.
Well, as my colleague Representative Sargent mentioned, there were some really devastating effects of the changes that took place in 2015 that are certainly not limited to what was proposed today. This was mostly aimed at the distortion of undue financial influence of people who certainly have more power than individual voters in the state. The coordination aspect did make Wisconsin unique and seemed to be more of a retroactive codifying of what took place in the John Doe decision by the Supreme Court that said coordination's okay. My guess is we will incrementally be addressing these things. For today's priorities, we really wanted to start with the distorted influence that certain groups have and certain individuals have over our decision-making process.
I love the visual aid. I referenced the visual aid. You had to be there. I guess I was gesturing towards the visual aid. Gordon Hintz knew I was talking about his Venn diagram. We would all Walker bash in a subtle sort of way.
Everybody knew.
Dominic, the newest state lawmaker, the newest Democrat, Robin Vining, she had her chance at the podium today. Let's play some of the sound of Robin Vining. She, of course, based in the 1510 AM listenership area. Here it is, cut 83. No better case for redistricting than the 2018 election.
There is no greater reminder of the power of redistricting than the 2018 election. On November 6th, all 5 statewide elections were won by Democrats. Wisconsin Assembly Democrats received 200,000 more votes than Assembly Republicans statewide. And yet, in the state Assembly, the divide stands at 63 Republicans and 36 Democrats.
More of Robin Vining talking about partisan redistricting. I think she thinks it's wrong, Dom. Cut 84.
Partisan gerrymandering is wrong when Democrats do it, and it's wrong when Republicans do it.
Yeah, there's a nice thought. I mean, at least it's consistent criticism, Crute. You know, one of my pet peeves, and when politicians, they get all their underwear up in a knot about something, but when it's their crew, they're totally fine with it. I love Robin Vining's consistency on this issue.
And you also very consistently critical, Dom. More Robin Vining, the newly elected state rep. Robin Vining, cut 85.
Voters should get to choose their politicians. Politicians should not get to choose their voters. I will say that again. Politicians should not get to choose their voters. Voters should get to choose their politicians. Make no mistake, the gerrymandered maps worked exactly as planned, insulating the Republican majority from shifting tides of political opinion.
Yeah, they certainly seem insulated in some way, Dom. The outcome of the latest election, I have expressed my own displeasure about the legislative races. Robin Vining, effectively the only pickup for the Dems. Quite an impressive candidate, an impressive rookie lawmaker. One more from her from earlier today at the Dem caucus press conference, cut 86, Robin Vining.
When I was running for the assembly, one of the main things I heard on doors was, please work together.
Please work together. Apparently, Robin Voss did knock on those same doors.
No.
Scott Fitzgerald did knock on those doors.
In order to work together, I think you need to have a basis of fact, right? You all must agree on what the facts are. And I've heard Wisconsin Senate Leader Scott Fitzgerald on Righty Whitey Talk Radio dismissing the concerns about the gerrymandering that they took so much effort into producing as, no, it's not that. It's because we have better candidates and a better message. How could you work together with someone like that?
Well, Dominic, my only complaint about the Dems in their press conference, maybe a few too many voices heard from. You got to pick out a couple of spokespeople for the tribe, run them out to the front. That's what the Republicans did. The co-chair of the Joint Finance Committee, John Nygren, standing near me on the right, he was ready to walk out 3 questions in. He knew he was there as a visual aid. He was a prop. No Venn diagrams on the Republican side. But the Democrats brought down the whole damn caucus, and nearly every single one of them spoke. We will share more sound. Coming back, our friend Dave Hansen. Love this guy, Senator Dave Hansen from the Green Bay area. More of the fine Dems, and also the Republican response, Tony Evers as well. Crute pitched a triple header. At my house, we'd call that a Super Sex Tuesday. Just saying.
Wow.
The biggest fear that I and I think a lot of our supporters have is the outside money.
We've included a Venn diagram.
They can go suck lemons.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod. Noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes. Kim, you're on the air. How are you?
I came here from Dallas. I'm white. I was kind of amazed at how segregated Milwaukee is compared to Dallas. When people move to areas because they have, quote, better schools, I've kind of learned that's a dog whistle.
Yes, it is.
Especially up here.
It will not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know.
Us liberals don't always see it this way, but we need to.
Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to noon, exclusively on Real Resistance Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio. Streaming on the YouTubes and the Facebooks. We're on Twitter at Devil Radio. And you can always join the political party here at 844-967-2789. Long distance dedication going out to you, Crute.
Well, Tom, I was kind of proud of myself. Pitched a triple header today. Used to do that quite a bit early in the marriage, but, today I had to throw in an extra effort.
What are you going to do with the other 23 hours and 45 minutes of your day?
Go to a few more press conferences, perhaps. Dominic, our pal Dave Hansen, senator from the Green Bay area, he spoke as well. He picked up the conversation, the partisan gerrymandering. Let's play some of the sound. Senator Hansen, cut 87.
As we've seen in every general election, legislative election since Scott Walker and Republicans took power, including the 2018 election, the maps they passed in 2011 were, as they have been described, gerrymandering on steroids. The possibility of this ever happening again, under either party, cannot be allowed to occur.
Don't want to repeat. More of Dave Hansen. 88 is great. Play it, Fancy Brian.
To that end, we once again will be introducing legislation to create a nonpartisan redistricting process. With redistricting coming up in 2021 and some balance restored to the current process by Governor Evers' election, now is the time. It is the time to take action to guarantee that no party will have the power to rig the legislative elections like we've seen these past 8 years.
Very passionate advocacy from Dave Hansen. Of course, he's also a pragmatist, as you'll see in the next soundbite. Cut 89. Dave, he realizes they'll never go for it, not the Republicans.
I realize it's unlikely Republican leaders will allow a vote on anything that would come close to providing a greater sense of fairness in our elections. But I do hope that cooler heads will prevail on the other side of the aisle and help us move forward on this very, very important issue.
Now, Dave does do a little touchdown dance here, reminds Republicans they never thought Walker was going to lose. It could happen to them someday as well. Cut 90.
Just as many Republicans probably never thought Scott Walker would lose and that we'd have a Democrat in the East Wing. Many of them can't comprehend that Democrats taking full control of state government. But we do have a new governor, and given fair maps in 2021, it's possible Democrats could get full control of the future. Those who realize this will do well to encourage their leadership to join us, to come along and pass nonpartisan redistricting, not just to protect their own interests, because it is absolutely the right thing to do.
And then I would propose, we the Democrats, gerrymander a permanent majority, at least for a decade on our end.
Come on,
man. Madison's going to be split into like 52 assembly districts. Little segments.
Crute, back in October, a federal judge said that Wisconsin's gerrymandering lawsuit probably to be held in April, and the Supreme Court may consider that case as early as fall of 2019. But again, I got to ask, the Republicans, as they continue to go and spout their side of this redistricting nightmare that they went through to great lengths and lawsuits to put upon us, they don't see it as an issue, Crute. They see this just as hell. We just have better candidates, better messaging than the Democrats. I have absolutely zero hope that Fitzgerald and Voss and anybody else over there on the Republican side will see the folly, the error of their ways, even though we're going back to court again.
Well, Dominic, the Republicans would remind you they didn't lose seats. They gained a seat, at least in the Senate.
How do you lose every statewide office and gain a seat in the Senate and sit there and say, no, there's no gerrymandering going on? How do you say that? I mean, how can you objectively look at somebody in the eyes with a straight face and claim that?
They would just say their ideology is won out, Tom. Wisconsin, they've moved it forward. Fully gerrymandered. Melissa Sargent's going to appear on this fine program in the 3 o'clock hour. We've got one soundbite from her as well from this morning. State Rep Melissa Sargent outlines a bill she is proposing to get individual donations out of politics. Cut 91, Melissa Sargent.
Therefore, this week, I will be introducing a bill that addresses some of the most damaging campaign finance problems that have been identified by groups like the nonpartisan Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. In this bill that I'm introducing, we will stop unlimited individual contributions to political parties and legislative campaign committees. We will also stop unlimited giving from political parties and legislative campaign committees to candidate committees. And finally, we will eliminate separate segregated funds that have been abused for the past 2 campaign cycles.
But you know, Robin Voss controls many of those dollars. He ain't going to give an inch on that topic either. And back to the original question that I asked a little bit later in the press conference of Gordon Hintz, the Assembly Minority Leader. Well, Gordon Hintz, until you change campaign finance laws to the point where coordination with outside groups is not permissible uniquely, corruptly under Wisconsin campaign finance laws, the rest of it's really not going to matter.
Yeah, the rest of it's moot. It's all a workaround. If you can give the money, hell, I'd rather have access and use of the money than actually claim and take the money, Crute. That's kind of the whole point of even reporting these finance contributions.
Well, I did a little reporting this morning out there working hard. Almost worked up a sweat, you might say.
Well done, Crute.
Melissa Sargent, she'll join us at 3:30. We've got more sound of the Dems. We've got more sound of the Republicans. Haven't even started with the Republicans. And the governor, Tony Evers, well, he had a response as well. Met with the enemy and looked him in the eye. And I'm sure they came away duly impressed with the new governor. I'm sure they're shaking in their boots. Although they hit it well at the press conference later. Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates. Phone line's always open here and toll free to you, 844-967-2789. You join us, it'll be our afternoon delight.
I'm talking about enjoying a bowl of chicken soup with a Reuben and then making dirty Reuben love.
Afternoon delight.
Fair is fair. We didn't start this, we didn't mean it to happen, but we're not giving up till you pay. Fair is fair.
Well, who says life is fair? Where is that written?
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions, don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
When you shop Goodwill, you don't just bring home a vintage dress or cat lamp. You bring home so much good to your community because everything you buy funds local job training and more. Goodwill, bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Knowing your breasts can save your life. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Komen and the Ad Council.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
On Election Day 2016, Madison lost its only progressive radio station, and I've taken strides every day since to bring lefty talk back to my hometown. I'm Crute, an opinionated devil on the radio, but I'm also Crute, the entrepreneur and a fiduciary to over 400 clients and their investment in real estate for the last decade. 2 years ago, I put my money where my mouth was, bought and built a radio station in Milwaukee. I've learned hard and expensive lessons, leaving me wiser and uniquely qualified to replicate the effort. I have the license. Now is the time to build an independent 24-hour FM talk radio station in Madison, a durable, rapid response platform that Republicans can't take away with a lame duck. Unique deferral of 2018 cap gains through Opportunity Zone investment possible. Join me, accredited investors. Partner with a fellow progressive. Email Crute at darnwi.com. This opportunity subject to an SEC 506C filing.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your best man, your worst man. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Jake Patterson made his first court appearance yesterday. The 21-year-old man from Douglas County is charged with kidnapping and murder in the Jamie Kloss case. Wisconsin's Native American tribes are feeling the impact of the government shutdown. A new report says the staff at Lincoln Hills is not keeping the cells for inmates suicide resistant. And Governor Tony Evers was in Milwaukee yesterday to talk to business and political leaders ahead of his State of the State address next week. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight: cloudy skies, lows in the mid-20s, mostly sunny tomorrow, highs only in the upper 20s. Thursday, cloudy with a slight chance of snow and highs in the low 30s. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. So relevant, Don. We got to get to it, man. Lots and lots of sound. 3 press conferences. The number of the day, 3. Mark Spretzer, a Democratic Assembly rep, he laid out the amendments. The Democrats are proposing constitutional amendments, trying to force good governance upon the Republicans and then make it where they can never change it ever again. Of course, that would be a big, that'd be a big lift, considering you've got to pass the legislation through the houses twice and then put it on a referendum. Now, I think the citizenry might be all down, but no way Republicans are going to okay this stuff. But that doesn't mean the Dems aren't proposing it. Let's go quick. Cut 92, Mark Spretzer. Constitutional amendments.
First, we need to address what happened just over a month ago. A rushed, lame duck effort to override the will of the voters started this session off on completely the wrong foot. Changing the balance of power in our state government should be done carefully and with public input. So our first proposal would make it unconstitutional to change the powers of the executive, legislative, or judicial branches between a fall election and the first day of the next session.
More Rep. Spretzer, cut 93.
If there's a crisis, of course we should be able to respond and support our state and its citizens after the election. And this proposal does not change that. But changing the balance of power in our state has never and never will be an emergency. It shouldn't be a rush job.
Little shout out to State Rep. Jimmy Anderson, who of course is confined to a wheelchair, and despite his efforts to be included in the lame duck vote, he was excluded by the 4:30 a.m. vote outside of his ability to attend the votes. And a little shout out from Rep. Spretzer, cut 94.
Our second constitutional amendment would ensure that open meetings laws are protected by enshrining them in our state constitution and ensuring that courts can enforce these laws even if the legislature violates them.
And specifically the 4 a.m. vote, Cut 95.
It is time to put an end to sudden hearings and surprise votes, sometimes at 4 in the morning, that have been the hallmarks of a broken system, producing laws that benefit a few, not the average citizen. Even now, one of our colleagues has had to go to the judicial branch for assistance as the majority party caters to the whims of their power-hungry leadership while excluding one of our own members, as well as the public.
Mark Spretzer goes on to propose his third amendment to the Wisconsin Constitution, keeping open records open and available. Seems like a novel concept. Let's play it for the people. Cut 96.
And our third constitutional amendment would strengthen our open records laws by protecting them in the state constitution. Some of the very worst proposals over the last 8 years have dealt directly with the way our legislature is accountable to the public. We cannot forget that the very majorities holding power now, led by Speaker Voss, are led by the same people who tried to end public accountability for our entire state government. Open records laws are at the heart of good government because they ensure that the public has the ability to shine a light on our process.
Now, Mark also points out Voss, right now, in real time, is hiding info from the public about private law firms hired by the Republican legislative majority. Played for the people, fancy if you would, Cut 97.
Even as Speaker Voss attempts to hide more information from the public about the millions of tax dollars he is funneling toward private law firms, we are here to hold the line and say, enough is enough.
And also, to the question, could legislative bodies then turn around and shield themselves again from open, as we've seen the Republicans endeavor to do? More from Rep. Spretzer, Cut 98.
That's certainly something worth considering. We're finalizing the details of the proposal, and we want to make absolutely certain that there's no ability for the legislature to exempt itself from having to follow open records laws. So anything that would advance that is something that we're trying to accomplish with this.
I guess this is from the Q&A portion. One more from Rep. Spretzer. Why the Constitution? Well, he's got an answer. Cut 99.
Well, the key thing by putting it in the state constitution would prevent any attempt to actually change the statutes to exempt the legislature from the open records laws or to otherwise gut them, as we saw was attempted in the Joint Finance Committee a couple of budgets ago. So, we want to absolutely make sure that that we can't just change through statute something that really should be a constitutional guarantee to the people of the ability to access their government's records.
Now, there were, and that was Rep. Mark Spretzer, there were other members of the media that did ask questions. And someone asked Gordon Hentz, the Assembly Minority Leader, hey, you going to open up the caucus meetings as well? And he seemed less enthusiastic about that idea. But he did answer the question with something of a football analogy. Played for the people, Fancy Brian, Cut 100.
Well, that's a question that we get every session, and my colleague, Representative Mason, isn't here. I'm sure someone might take up the sunshine bill. Obviously, I don't know if the NFL locker rooms are willing to open up their practices and meetings at halftime, given, the debate that takes place, the strategy and other things. But, maybe that's something that deserves a public hearing.
I don't think that's going to happen. Just saying.
No political party is going to want that to go down. But I'm down with Mark. I think, these records, they're all paid for by our tax dollars. We the people, isn't how it's supposed to be. There better be a damn good reason other than embarrassment and trying to shield the corruption from the light of the constituents.
You mean the legislative process, Dom? The sausage making, so ugly, so untoward. You'd hate for the people to see who's cashing the checks and who's giving the quid pro quo, Dom.
That's exactly what I want to see. And if you can't do it in public, then maybe you shouldn't do it.
Dominic, Tony Evers next at the podium, the Democratic caucus. They cleared the room. Dave Hansen made a point. Senator Hansen, I love that guy. He made a point of coming back in just to talk to yours truly off the record just for a moment. And I appreciate Dave Hansen. I won't share what he shared, but he's a funny guy. I'll just tell you that. Unlike you, Dominic.
What? Come on.
And Tony Evers didn't have much in the way of humor, but did try a few, let's call them soft jokes on the crowd. Tony Evers at the podium, Cut 106, expanding Medicaid.
I indicated to them that the Republicans in the room that it's an important part of our program, and we will respectfully submit that as part of our budget and fight for it.
So, understanding Tony Evers, Mandela Barnes, although Tony did all the talking today, had come immediately from the Republican caucus, had just come from looking down Voss and Fitzgerald, and I never realized this until today, Dom. Robin Voss could dunk on Scott Fitzgerald. Clearly taller.
And
Fitzy's a squatty little man.
Voss is not a tall man either.
No, not at all. But I never saw the two men standing exactly side by side today. And it was clear to me that Robin Voss could probably post up Scott Fitzgerald. Let's keep going, though. Tony Evers, he could dunk on both of them.
Maybe he could post him. I mean, he can get down there, but you're not going to move Fitzy. You got to go around the man.
Well, you know, Tony Evers does have executive powers, Tom, and he told them he will argue ever so respectfully. And he also mentioned Weedick to the Republicans. More of Tony Evers, the new governor, cut 107.
I also pledged that we would disagree and argue on that issue in a civil and appropriate way. And we spent a lot of time talking about the WEDC.
And, of course, he has been limited by the lame duck on how he can direct the WEDC, pick his own staff for the board. But more from Tony Evers. I'll let him tell you. The governor on Weedick cut 108.
Basically, the caucuses impressed upon us how important WEDC is, and the fact that while it had a shaky start, it is now being successful. And it's highly audited, as they said, so they feel comfortable with the way it is. I talked a little bit about what my campaign position was, and that is the Foxconn deal that Weedick cut with Foxconn was a very expensive deal for the state of Wisconsin.
Very expensive? Yes, that might be an understatement.
Understatement of the day, perhaps, Tom.
Wow.
Dominic Evers did, again, in the next statement he made to the press assembled, and he mostly took questions, he did say they talked a lot about Foxconn, and I have the impression that Tony Evers is not being resistant to Foxconn. He wants to hold them accountable, no doubt, but apparently this is now Tony Evers' Foxconn deal, because Tony Evers is accepting the terms. He is not fighting back. He's not looking for a way out, or at least not publicly expressing an advocacy for any of those positions. So sooner or later, this is going to be Tony Evers' baby as well. He's the one that's going to have to, change the diapers and pay the freight. We all will have to pay the freight. It will take a village, an entire state, to raise this Foxconn deal, man. $4.5 billion. That's a lot of scratch. And apparently, Tony Evers is moving forward. They're done resisting. At least that's the impression that I get. Cut 109.
But that said, Foxconn is in existence in the state. We have to make sure that they succeed in a way that is open and transparent. And I talked quite a bit about that because I feel that in order for us to stay ahead of the curve on this, we need to make sure that we're good stewards of the money, so we're going to hold our feet to the fire, but we also have to anticipate that there will be continual media attention to this. It's a big deal. It costs a lot of money, and therefore we need to be prepared for continued scrutiny.
Crute, the Nikkei Asian Review, that's my go-to source for the Foxconn news, had a report out yesterday entitled Foxconn December Sales Plunge as Consumers Abandon iPhone. Foxconn, the main iPhone supplier, saw December sales plunge by more than 8% on last year as Taiwan's tech sector contracted year-on-year for the first time in 10 months. Taiwan's key iPhone suppliers are feeling the effects of Apple's struggle to stir demand. The iPhone maker, Foxconn, shares have shed more than 30% of their value since their peak in October when the company was valued at over $1 trillion. Down 30% since October. I'm not clear what version of plant they're looking at now, but at some
3.0.
Right, 2.1. I mean, who knows, Crute? I have no idea. I have no faith in this deal. And as we know, we must reiterate it over and over and over. People of Wisconsin, even if all of the goals are met with this deal, the jobs, the numbers, the money given, we will never break even on this deal. I'm just saying.
And that's assuming technology advances and there's still a need for a Foxconn plant in the state of Wisconsin. You wait, Dom. We might yet see Foxconn pull out of this deal.
Right.
I mean, it's a hell of a deal for Foxconn, but ultimately, if you're down $300 billion in share value, that's a hell of a lot of, I think there's probably some decisions being made at the highest echelons of the Foxconn Corporation. Dominic, more of Tony Evers' Cut 110, this one about Medicaid expansion, and they're not going to burn the Capitol down over it. Well, hell, nothing's worth fighting for, is it? Cut 110.
I understand that they said it's a non-starter. My goal in answering their question around this was to indicate that we're not going to burn the Capitol down here. We're going to disagree. If that is their position, then we will disagree. I believe our position at the end of the day is the correct one.
Now, I went
Wait a minute. If you disagree, if I may, though, what does that mean? You disagree. Is that like Trump disagrees with Pelosi on the border? Well, so then what? What happens next, Tony and Republicans?
Well, I did go to the Republican press conference next, and they all came walking in with big jugs of gasoline. I'm just saying. They're going to burn it down. They're going to certainly burn Tony's budget proposal down. They're not looking to play nice. One more from Tony Evers. What about WEDC and doing something about WEDC in this budget? No, that's not going to happen either. Cut 111.
We're not doing anything with WEDC in this budget.
I was dying to ask the legalized marijuana question, and are you going to put it in the budget? And I did ask that question, actually, of the Republican caucus just a little bit later in the morning. But Tony came out of the Republican caucus perhaps a little weary from the experience, Tom, and told us all the things he would not be able to accomplish probably this legislative session.
Doesn't he have veto power? Can't he take some of their pet projects and strike through and stick it to them if they don't come to terms? I mean,
I'm not sure what sort of strategy they're advocating for, Dom. They're not changing WEDC. They want Medicaid expansion, but they're not going to fight for it. And Foxconn. Apparently, we're now embracing Foxconn. So those are all the things and all the reasons I voted for Tony Evers, right? Embracing Foxconn, excluding medical marijuana from the budget, Medicaid expansion if you can get there, and of course do nothing about WEDC. So all the big ones, they're all in there, Dom. We got them all. We can call it a career, Dom. Our body of work stands for itself.
Just wrap it up.
We've resisted and gotten everything we wanted and voted for. And the sarcasm's getting a little thick.
A little thick in here, yeah. I need my boots.
Come back with us. The Republican response, you think it's getting thick? You better all bring waiters back. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. The phone line's open for you, toll free at 844-967-2789. You are listening to Real Resistance Radio.
Thank you, Mr. Foxconn.
The Foxconn deal that WEDC cut with Foxconn was a very expensive deal for the state of Wisconsin.
We've included a Venn diagram.
We're not doing anything with WEDC in this budget.
Please, it's too much winning.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Ever worry that the anonymous millionaires are setting the agenda for our community with little or no accountability? I do. That's why I joined Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. My fellow members and I want to build a powerful and lasting progressive movement. Together, we can help determine the agenda in our own communities. Then we work with professional organizers and a team of leading strategists to make that agenda happen. We're working on health care, economic justice, child poverty, electing progressive candidates, and more. And our Radioactive campaign supports this station and the Resistance Radio Network. So, won't you come help us build a movement?
Become a member of the Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. Go to citizenactionwi.org.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making never looked so good.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio. You can join the political party anytime at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, something unusual. We will bring you now the Wisconsin Republican response. 3 pressers today. The Democratic caucus, Tony Evers, the new governor, and the Republicans. They met with Evers in a joint caucus. Apparently this is something of a big deal. The diminutive Senate leader, Scott Fitzgerald, said, I don't remember the last time we did it like this. Well, anyways, Robin Voss led the event. You know, he's got the real power in the state. And Voss, you know, gracious, thanked us all for showing up and said, just because we're divided doesn't mean we can't get things done. Cut 112.
Start by thanking Governor Evers for being there. One of the things that we talked about during the course of the campaign, and I think this is one area that I know there is definite agreement, is that just because you have divided government doesn't mean that nothing's going to get done. We have areas of common ground.
But they're slim pickings, far and few between. And we're not really going to assist you in anything you hope to accomplish, Tony, because we want you to be a failure as a governor. That's the unspoken in that statement. Fitzy, you know, good old boy, Scotty Fitzgerald, can't remember the last time they had a joint caucus. It was a good meeting. Cut 113.
Yeah, it was good to have a joint caucus. I can't remember when the last time that happened with the Senate and the Assembly. But it was a good, it was kind of a good way to, I think, invite the governor in.
And tell him how we're not going to work with him at all, except maybe some roads. Depends.
Back to Speaker Voss, Medicaid expansion, a non-starter. Yeah, I don't want to devolve into an argument. Cut 114.
Well, one of the things that I asked was I would prefer for us to find areas that are not going to automatically kind of devolve into a big argument. So I think what Wisconsin wants is for us to stick to our principles, which of course we will, but also to find common ground. So on things like a dramatic increase in income or sales taxes on business or homeowners, I think that'd be a non-starter with us. At least for our caucus, I think expanding government on health care is a non-starter too.
A dramatic increase? I mean, what about just going back to what they used to pay? Would that be a dramatic increase if they took away the tax credit?
No, he made it very clear.
Oh, that was it?
They agree on the vocabulary. That's a tax increase.
Is it dramatic if I got to pay that amount and they don't have to?
Well, if manufacturers or agribusiness interests had to pay a quote-unquote dramatic tax increase, and Dom, when your effective tax rate is 0.4%, anything's going to seem like a dramatic increase. Because the average working stiff pays like 7.5% on the highest marginal tax rates in the state of Wisconsin, but Scott Fitzgerald and Robin Voss's biggest supporters, the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, they pay effectively damn near zero taxes here in the state of Wisconsin. It's a sweet deal for them. More of Robin Voss, the Speaker of the Assembly. You know, they're going to focus their budget on what they want. Cut 115.
We could have a budget that was focused on things we all agree on, like not raising taxes and not expanding government on health care. I think those should be easy things to know. Republicans are probably never going to cave on those, so why would we want to start the argument there?
What about protection for those with pre-existing conditions?
You know, Robin Voss went through a very twisted rationalization of why we can't expand Medicaid. Because it's much better to push Wisconsinites, those even one nickel above the poverty line, better to push them into the federal subsidized Obamacare exchanges that weren't really set up for people of that income class. So what if they can't afford the co-pays? So what if they can't afford the premiums? That's not Robin Voss's problem. Robin Voss says, I don't want to commit state dollars, but let's not forget the Medicaid expansion would be at 100% reimbursement rate. Our current Medicaid reimbursement rates are like 57, 58%. So the state of Wisconsin, A, uses lots of federal dollars, B, has Medicaid reimbursement rates about half of what are being offered. It would rather push Wisconsinites into federal exchanges they cannot afford than do the right thing. And someone even asked him, aren't we talking about an additional $200 million a year? Well, you know, maybe in the front end.
Wow.
Fitzgerald, Medicaid expansion, a non-starter on the Senate side as well. And oh yeah, they like vouchers. They want to keep those. Cut 116.
I think it is when you're talking about the big number, and this goes back to, I think, right after the elections, we had some discussions about how waivers function and how they will function moving forward. I think if there's any area of Medicaid that we still have to kind of figure out exactly what the mechanics are, it's probably going to be in the area of waivers.
One last one. I did ask Fitzgerald the medical marijuana question. We've heard the people for people ads. Here's my question of Fitzgerald. Cut 119. You know, I wondered if he's seen the evidence.
Senator Fitzgerald, prior, Tony Evers has said he would put medicinal marijuana in the state budget. You have expressed that you have not seen the public interest in that, despite the referendum votes. Senator Fitzgerald, if it's in the budget, are you going to oppose medicinal marijuana?
Yeah, that would probably be reminded by the co-chair. That's probably a policy item. And probably in that process that we've developed over many budgets, that probably would not be part of the state budget. And I made those comments. I still don't believe the support's there within the Senate caucus to move in that direction. But, you know, I know the debate's going on nationwide, so.
And it's going on in your district, and I've seen you Republicans stick plenty of policy issues into the budget. Don't play that game, Fitzy. I'm too smart for you, you little diminutive man. I never trust a short man.
Hey, come on,
devil's
not wrong with
advocates.
short guys.
Hour 2 is next.
No, I don't see it. I don't see the support. I don't support it.
We've included a Venn diagram.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. That's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean. Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern. You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Barr hearings. I'm Mike Moss. British Prime Minister Theresa May has suffered a stunning defeat of her Brexit plan to withdraw Britain from the European Union. Opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn seized the moment to call for a no-confidence vote tomorrow.
So this House can give its verdict on the sheer incompetence of this government and pass that motion of no confidence in the government.
Prime Minister May saying,
Mr. Speaker, the House has spoken and the government will listen.
No one knows what happens next, if May will be forced out or whether Britain will renegotiate Brexit with the EU. Opening day for the confirmation hearings for Attorney General nominee William Barr. Senator Chris Coons pressed Barr about what he would do if the president asked him to fire Robert Mueller.
Assuming there was no good cause?
Assuming no good cause.
I would not carry out that instruction.
Barr says he supports Mueller being able to finish his investigation and for Congress and the public being able to see the findings when the report is completed. A federal judge has rejected a bid by a federal union to require the government pay workers who are forced to work during the partial government shutdown. More from correspondent Pat Piper.
Mike, it was requested by the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, saying they should be paid despite the shutdown. The ruling came from Judge Richard Leon, who also denied a request for temporary restraining order that would have allowed federal employees deemed essential to decide whether or not to even report to work. That could have opened the door for federal workers to take other jobs to pay their bills.
This is the 25th day of the shutdown. Iowa Congressman Steve King is among the House members to vote to disapprove his comments about white supremacy. Bobby Rush, the only no vote, he wants King expelled from the House. On Wall Street, the Dow up 155. I'm Mike Moss.
President Trump's new tax law cut.
I went to pick up my boyfriend from work, and he had been drinking. He was upset with me. Suddenly, I was being strangled, and he slammed my head on the sidewalk. Every time I went into a courtroom, it just felt like I was pushed to the background.
No victim should be pushed aside and forgotten. Now legislators have a chance to help crime victims like Christina. Marcy's Law is a bipartisan bill that will update Wisconsin's constitution to strengthen the rights of victims, finally giving victims equal rights and protections. If the bill passes in January, voters will have a chance to approve it in April. Stand up for crime victims. Contact your legislators today and ask them to pass Marcy's Law right away.
Everybody can name a criminal's basic rights, but when asked what rights a victim has, I don't even think anybody would be able to say. That's why Marcy's Law is so important.
Paid for by Marcy's Law for Wisconsin, LLC.
Gotten historically larger.
About 1,000 charter school teachers were added to the nearly 35,000 already striking public school teachers.
We are the first charter school in California to go on strike.
First grade charter school teacher Carrie Rivera says there's a 40% annual turnover of charter school teachers lured away to better paying jobs or simply fired for what she says is no cause. Chandler Heath, another charter school teacher, says that's tough on the kids.
I am big on relationships with my kids, and when I said goodbye to them yesterday, I told them there was a very high chance that they would never see me again.
Now, whether that was fair or even ethical to say to her elementary students is up for debate. Meanwhile, neither side is back at the bargaining table. Jim Roop, Los Angeles.
Kenyan TV is airing what it calls surveillance footage that shows at least 4 attackers as they storm an upscale hotel complex in Nairobi. 2 of the gunmen are shown shooting in the direction of a car. No official reports of how many have been killed or injured in the attack today. I'm Mike Moss.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stay?
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamster Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
Listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson joins us on the phone regarding our military influence. Aren't we selling arms right now to Saudi Arabia, and aren't they using, munitions that they have purchased from us in their war?
And if we weren't doing that, because they've got plenty of money, they'll buy less precise munitions from other people, and the bloodshed would be worse.
Well, the blood might be on someone else's hands then, Ron.
Well, I'm going to talk to you about that, Ron.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation says a British corporate banking communications company is moving into a building near Milwaukee's Dretska Park and will employ 180 people. Milwaukee's Marcus Center for the Performing Arts is planning to destroy the Chestnut Grove adjacent to the Arts Center. A landowner in Walworth County who let concertgoers camp on his property when Dead & Company played Alpine Valley last summer was cited for zoning violations and received fines totaling $3,900. His attorneys say no one else has been cited for doing the same thing in the last 10 years, and the reason police gave citations to their client is because he is African American. Outside tonight, cloudy skies, lows in the mid-20s. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we promised some Walker bashing, and gosh darn it, we're going to do some Walker bashing, because unlike Walker, we have credibility.
Come on, what do you mean, Crute? He's the former 2-term governor of the state of Wisconsin.
3-term loser, in my opinion, Dom. And much like Donald Trump did what to these national champions from Clemson last night? Served them hamburgers. Couldn't even spell it right. Hamburglers. He's tweeting out. He's so proud of himself. He went down and cleared out every Wendy's, every McDonald's, every Burger King. And the president of the United States this morning getting trolled by a fast food franchise, Burger King, trolling Trump this morning because he didn't know how to spell hamburgers. And they made fun of him, Dom.
They said, here's what I got it. Burger King tweeted out, due to a large order placed yesterday, we're all out of hamburgers. Just serving hamburgers today. I could go for some hamburgers and kafifi. How about you?
You know, he is the hamburglar.
Yeah.
You remember the hamburglar? You know, sort of the guy in the jumpsuit, the jail garb. And he had a hamburger head, and apparently he was guilty of stealing lots and lots of hamburgers.
Oh, he had the mask on, right? That one? Yeah. I saw a nice meme of Sarah Huckabee Sanders as the hamburglar yesterday. It was fairly amusing.
Well, I could see Donald Trump in future prison garb, perhaps.
Now, let me just ask you this, and someone brought it up. It's not mine, but doesn't Trump have a hotel like up the street, the old post office? Don't they got a kitchen? Can't you... You know,
a chef.
Get these guys a steak? Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, and they're all nice piled, these burgers, all piled up on the table, right? Stacked. Well, how long have they been there? I mean, who wants the cold-ass fast food burger? You won the national championship. Some of these guys are going to go pro, make millions of dollars. They might have other tastes than a 6-year-old soccer team.
Do you think any of the Clemson players are now suffering from congealment of grease in their arteries? You know, it's an amazing thing. Donald Trump is a science experiment because the man's in his 70s, right? He apparently sleeps very little. He never exercises. He's completely out of shape. I mean, he's got a pear-like body, a big fat ass.
Well, I guess I have good genes.
and he fills himself with hamburglers and Diet Cokes all day, Dom. And he projects upon the national champions. Well, if it's good enough for the president, it must be good enough for them. So Trump dropped, and very proud of the fact he spent his own money.
Wow.
This billionaire Could you? You know, if you were inviting people over for a dinner party and you got there and there was a tray of Big Macs, would you turn around and leave?
Yes, come on. This is an embarrassment. But of course, that's what Trump is all about.
You know who else gets very impressed by a hamburger? Scott Walker, the former governor of the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah?
You know, he tweeted out on Sunday, Dom, Tonette and I went over to Mother's place after church for lunch. And he takes a picture, and it's on a paper, well, maybe it's not a paper plate. Maybe that's white china. But, you know, it's obviously like right out of the deli potato salad and pasta salad. And you got your Jell-O salad. And then you got this hamburger, and it's on this, you know, it's on this white bread bun. And Walker has taken one bite out of it and then taken a photo for Instagram or Facebook. But the bun, you know, there's nothing fancy. There's no sesame seeds. There's so clearly no condiments on that thing. I mean, this is such an unimpressive meal. No offense to Mama Walker, mother. As he calls her.
Mother, whoa.
But you're way too impressed by a meal that your mom bought at the deli.
You're missing the point, though,
It's
Crute.
not even home cooked.
Here it is. Tonette and I went over to my mother's place after church for lunch.
So it's just throwing out there, the preacher's kid's got to remind people, oh, I attend church every Sunday.
Yes.
And then apparently he puts a walker together for Mother. He also tweets out a picture of him putting together, you know, one of those walkers with the wheels on the bottom.
A walker for Walker.
A walker for Walker. That's exactly how he tagged it, Tom.
He's so smart.
And then he went on to put up some sort of biblical parable. And then something about the wall, you know, $49 billion in foreign aid in 2016. He even quotes a source, Tom. That's a first. Why can't we spend a fraction of that to secure our borders, he asked.
Pretty sure we do, Governor Walker. What about that? What about that, you know, that fence, that barrier to the north? We're going to keep those Canadians out with all their legal weed.
What did he tell Casey Hunt from MSNBC at the Iowa County State Fair in August of 2015? Yeah, I'd consider that. Dom, then the Goobinator tweeting out about 16 hours ago, the Jamie Kloss case, Jake Thomas Patterson, charged with homicide kidnapping. Or as Scott Walker tweets out, this guy is a sick SOB who should rot in prison. And I would point out the man who never visited a Wisconsin prison, never instituted a pardon board. Under you, Scott Walker, everybody rotted in prison.
Right. At least he's consistent.
And then we come to the tweet of the day, Dom. 5 hours ago, Scott Walker's tweeting out about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm sorry, man, I got the hiccups here.
Suck it up, man. Be the professional. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
My mother, as I call her. No, my wife made some yummy lasagna. I had, leftovers for lunch.
Isn't the classic horror movie Psycho? Doesn't he refer to his mom as like mother this, mother that? Okay. Rep Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Crute, according to your favorite news source, therawstory.com.
Well, before we get her response, Dom, share the Walker tweet.
Explaining tax rates before Reagan to fifth graders. Quote, imagine if you did chores for your grandma and she gave you $10. When you got home, your parents took $7 from you. The students said, that's not fair. Even fifth graders get it.
Well, there's some clever fifth graders, Dom, but he didn't exactly tell them the truth about AOC's proposition, did he? He's not a truthful teller, is he, Dom?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted Walker back, explaining marginal tax rates to a far-right former governor. Imagine you did chores for Abuela, it's the Spanish for grandmother, I'm butchering it, I'm sure, and she gave you $10. When you got home, you got to keep it, because it's only $10. Then we taxed the billionaire in town because he's making tons of money underpaying the townspeople. Boom!
Now, even if Walker's analogy had been accurate in some way, shape, or form, because of course he's just doing percentages.
Well, it would be accurate if those, if they went over and did call it, I don't know, $10 million of W-2 income per year of chores for grandma, and then she gave them an extra $10. Well, perhaps the marginal tax rate on that $10 would in fact be, based on what she's suggesting, $7. But he doesn't say that.
Well, if grandma gives me $10 million and mom and dad give $7 million of it to the tax man, and I still get to retain $3 million, I'm still happy. All grandma gave me was a kiss on the cheek and a good tug.
But that's still not it doesn't describe the marginal tax rates. That's a flat tax you described there, Crute. I mean, it's not a 70% of every dollar. Her proposal, if we recall, was for what, on $10 million per year, 70% of tax rate above $10 million a year.
So the only way that example holds true is if indeed grandma gave you $10 million and $10,
yes.
And then that $10, mom and dad taking $7 of that as a straw man analogy for the government, well, then it'd be accurate. But otherwise, Scott Walker, you're just making stuff up.
And of course,
but here's the good news,
okay,
Dom.
Go.
The Speakers Bureau finally came through for me. He finally got a speaking gig.
Speaking to the fifth graders and lying to them, not explaining it properly. And of course, we know Governor Walker, he loves the billionaires. Remember Diane Hendricks, is it Diane Hendricks? The billionaire from here in Wisconsin, ABC Supply. Governor Walker, how can we get to be a right to work state? Oh, we gotta divide and conquer. And then Governor Walker went and divided and conquered, and now he's no longer the governor, thankfully. But Diane Hendricks, she's still a billionaire, and she's not paying that kind of tax. Maybe she should.
Dominic, this man should go away. Just putter around Mother's house. Ma, the meatloaf!
Ma, I want it now!
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Just a little flavor, a little Walker bashing on white bread.
Oh, he's terrible. And I love the fact that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just lighten his ass up. He's such a fool.
She's very clever, unlike the former governor of the state of Wisconsin. And you know what, Dom? You know what people may not know? This is actually the 70% proposed tax rate. Back before there was a Reagan. Reagan saved us all from the high tax rates. That's Scott Walker's implication. He was a worshiper of Ronald Reagan, got married on Reagan's birthday, serves macaroni and cheese and red, white, and blue M&Ms on his anniversary each year, if memory serves. I mean, that's a little twisted to start. But the 70% marginal tax proposal for people making over $10 million a year, it's a highly popular proposition. We've got some new polling. We'll talk about that when we come back. We are the Devil's Advocates. Got a fine guest coming soon. She is State Rep Melissa Sargent from Wisconsin. You can always join us on the phones as well. Throw your opinions in. You can Walker bash at 844-967-2789. We'll be right back.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
The 82nd Attorney General of the United States, Mr. Eric Holder.
You're talking about taking away from an Attorney General and from the executive branch, core executive branch functions, and moving them to the legislative side is something that's inconsistent with the federal constitution and the Wisconsin state constitution.
It will not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know. That's the Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to noon on Real Resistance Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing. Hashtag Walker bashing.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, Real Resistance Radio, streaming on the YouTubes and the Facebooks. You can check us out on Twitter at Devil Radio. Party lines always open at 844-967-2789.
You know what I find ironic about SKW, Scott K. Wankinator, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, their little Twitter war, that the freshman congressman obviously has a clearer understanding of marginal tax rates than the former governor does. And above and beyond that, once again, Scott Walker finds himself on the wrong side of history and the people, and the new polling supports my assertion, Dom. A majority of Americans support raising the top tax rate to 70%. New polling at the Hill. Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat from New York, and her Republican critics have both called her proposal to dramatically increase America's highest tax rate radical. But a new poll released Tuesday indicates that a majority of Americans agree with the idea. In the latest The Hill Harris X survey, which was conducted January 12th and 13th after the newly elected congresswoman called for the U.S. to raise the highest tax rate to 70%, found that a sizable majority of registered voters, 59%, support the idea. 59% agree with AOC and disagree with Scott Walker. He's in familiar territory again, Dom.
Crute, but I'm not going to sit here and suggest that Governor Scott Walker doesn't know what a marginal tax rate is. I think he's just being deceptive on the issue. That's the kind of politician that he is. I mean, he says 70% on some poor kid earning $10. Who can possibly do that? That's ridiculous. We'll never stand for that. But of course, that's not what she's talking about. But that's how he would present it to a bunch of fifth graders.
Well, Dominic, let me present a little more of the polling data, and then we'll get to the phones at 844-967-2789. Women support the idea by a 62 to 38% margin, again, raising the tax rates on the richest to 70% over their $10 million earning thresholds. A majority of men back it as well, 55 to 45%. The proposal is popular in all regions of the country, with the majority of Southerners, talking to you, Republicans, backing it by a 57 to 43% margin. And oh yeah, the rural Trump voters, they back it as well, 56 to 44%. Increasing the highest tax bracket to 70% garners a surprising amount of support amongst Republican voters.
What?
In the Hill Harris X poll, 45% of Republicans say they favor it, while just 55% opposed to it. And independent voters who were contacted backed the tax idea by a 60 to 40% margin, while Democratic ones favored it 71% to 29%. Once again, Scott Walker on the wrong side of history, Dom. He often finds himself there. We're always on the right side of history, at least when you call us and you share your opinions, your advocacy, your ideas at 844-967-2789. Dom, we got a caller holding?
Let's go. Mark from the Sac, you are up. Thanks for calling, Mark. What are your thoughts today?
Yeah, you're talking about the rates, because that 0.4% tax rate for the manufacturers and agriculture say you pay $4,000 in taxes a year. If you're making, that's $1 million company taking in, $1 million in taxable income, is paying that $4,000. That's the same amount paid in taxes as somebody making $57,000 a year for their taxable income. I mean, explain that one to me, Republicans. I mean, how is that equitable? I mean, at all?
Well, they're the job creators, Muppet Sack Mark.
Yeah, but they're not hiring more people because and paying higher wages because they're paying such a low tax rate. That's a deductible expense anyway. I mean, this is all this money going into their pockets.
Well, of course they're not going to hire more people, Mark, because at such a low tax rate, knowing that tax rates, they have a tendency to go up and down. They are now encouraged to cash out every bit of profit that they get. And maybe when taxes go up, then they'll reinvest into raising wages or building plants or whatever the case may be.
Mark, if you want them, you go first, Mark, and then I'll go second.
Which is exactly the opposite. What happens is exactly the opposite of what Dom is right. It's exactly the opposite of what they said was going to happen because what tax revenues are way down when they said, revenues will go up if we reduce the tax rate. Well, that's just ridiculous on the face of it.
Well, Mark, if you want to inspire these corporations to actually hire, you got to give them cash. See Foxconn. Or even retain jobs. See Kimberly-Clark. 17 cents on the employment dollar. A 17% incentive not to create a cotton-picking job at the Kimberly-Clark plant, but 17% incentive to simply keep the employees they currently employ.
Well,
I mean, that's ridiculous.
It's a bribe. Thanks for the call, Mark. Always appreciate it. 844-967-2789. And if we're going to do that, I mean, if that's how it is, isn't every job important? Right? What is it about one particular set of jobs in one particular region, in one particular industry, that takes priority or precedent over every other job and the ups and downs of every industry and market in the state? Well, of course, the Republicans, they garner benefit from their political contributions from those larger corporations. Bunch of individuals, they don't have the power of the pull as WMC.
Well, yeah, Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, one of the biggest, grandest donors to the Republican cause. It takes a little to make a little, Dom. And the only thing that Republicans think are sacred is every sperm. Right up until the baby's born. And then you can throw them in a cage, take them away from their parents, make the parents work or pee in a cup to get any sort of social safety net. The only pro-life Republicans, they're pro-sperm. Republicans are pro-zygote. But after that, it's pretty much every baby for himself. Wow. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. You can always join us. Your opinion's nearly as valid as mine at 844-967-2789. Certainly more valid than Dom.
Voodoo economics.
Our economy's on fire.
Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work.
We've included a Venn diagram.
Adults in America have pre-diabetes, but most don't know it. To let people know it can be reversed before it becomes type 2 diabetes, professional basketball player Julius Randle is doing everything in reverse.
I'm only dunking with reverse windmills. I drove the whole way to practice in reverse. I don't recommend it. This move's called the reverse shuffle. I do recommend it. And it took me months to learn how to speak in reverse, like this. Years 10 almost for diabetes type 2 with living Ben has mama. In other words, my mom has been living with type 2 diabetes for almost 10 years. So together, we want to say to the 84 million Americans at risk, exercise and healthy eating can help reverse prediabetes. Start by taking a simple 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Bet he can't say that in reverse.
Hey, everybody. Did you know that Scott Walker's no longer going to be the governor? There's no joke there. I'm just really, really happy.
Do you love public education? Do you want to support your schools? Then you should support the people who make them work. You should support teachers and their unions. Teachers' working conditions are students' learning conditions, and when the school bell rings, it is crucial that teachers do not check their rights at the door. The ability to organize and advocate around issues that improve the quality of a teacher's workplace will increase opportunities for students and make schools safer for everyone. Stand with teachers, stand with WEAC Region 7.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi folks, this is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009. Or visit cclmanagement.com today.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing.
Welcome to our good buddy, Congressman Mark Pocan. Mark, in some small part, this little radio product, the entire rationale for buying a radio station was opposition to Scott Walker. One person's telling me, be humble, Crute. Take a day and just be humble. And another person's telling me, no, dance on Scott Walker's grave. So, Congressman, I've always admired your sage advice. Sir, what should I do? How should I react to this?
We should waltz, we should polka, and we should two-step. We should be dancing on this right now. To your credit, and I do want to give you guys credit. In Milwaukee, we have seen a shift, especially the suburban areas, from when we had just conservative radio to having you guys there. We have seen a shift in that area, and that's important because I think when people hear ideas, we do better. And I want to thank you for being there and doing what you do.
Hashtag Walker bashing.
Bye, Felicia.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Jake Patterson made his first court appearance yesterday. The 21-year-old man from Douglas County is charged with kidnapping and murder in the Jamie Kloss case. And a new report says the staff at Lincoln Hills is not keeping the cells for inmates suicide-resistant. The youth prison was ordered by a federal judge to take steps to prevent suicide attempts. Wisconsin taxpayers had to pay nearly $19 million to a former inmate who suffered severe brain damage after guards ignored a suicidal girl's call for help. And outside tonight, cloudy skies, lows in the mid-20s. Mostly sunny tomorrow, highs in the upper 20s. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we welcome back a fine guest and a friend of ours. She is State Rep Melissa Sargent from Madison. Melissa, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Melissa.
Well, Melissa, the state of Wisconsin has run rampant with bad governance over the last 8 years, and specifically on issues like gerrymandering and voter suppression. Campaign finance, I could go through. There are a litany of bad governance propositions that the Republicans have embraced. Melissa, your caucus rolled out counter advocacy. You guys are advocating for good governance, and many of the things you guys are doing today seem like slam dunks, seem like common sense. I know you will face opposition from the right, Melissa, but start with, what do the Democrats hope to accomplish this legislative session?
Well, the bottom line is that over the last 8 years, we've seen the Republicans undermine our democracy at every turn that they had available to them, and they were not working in the best interest of ordinary, everyday Wisconsinites. And frankly, the folks that are in this building, the policymakers in this building, need to realize that their bosses are actually the people of the state of Wisconsin. So what we're going to see is my colleagues in the legislature, my Democratic colleagues in the legislature, making sure that we are providing a path to policies that will reflect the will of the people, so that we in Wisconsin can have a fresh start. We know that you cannot have good policy and good governing without clean and transparent government processes.
Now, the Republicans have not exactly been open to transparency, be it Scott Walker, be it Robin Vos. There have been lots of attacks on everything from the Wisconsin idea to open records to open meetings. Melissa, how do you hope to overcome those things? What are the specific legislative proposals?
Well, certainly we know that the power and the influence of money in our political system is a threat to the cornerstone of our democracy, and we need to hold the wealthy and the corporations accountable, because democracy really works best when one person and one vote is how it is that we move forward. So my colleagues in the Democratic legislature are starting out right out of the gate, introducing policies that will provide a fresh start for Wisconsin to address clean and good government, including a nonpartisan redistricting process, addressing some of the most egregious legislation in the history of our nation that was taken up during the lame duck session, making sure that our open meetings and open records reflect the will of the people, and addressing campaign finance reform, because we know that, frankly, more money does not make better government.
Melissa Sargent, we heard your newest colleague, Robin Vining, at the press conference this morning. She talked about her campaigning and knocking on the doors and hearing, please work together. Well, that seems like a quaint notion here in the state of Wisconsin after 8 years of divide and conquer, but it takes two to tango, and it doesn't seem like the Republicans will have any appetite for what it is you and your colleagues propose, Melissa.
Well, all we can do as duly elected officials in the state of Wisconsin is commit to work in the best interest of our constituents. And we know that in this last election, this November election, that Wisconsin Assembly Democrats received over 200,000 more votes than the Assembly Republicans statewide, yet they hold almost twice as many seats. We also know that Democrats won all 5 statewide offices, yet what we see in the legislature doesn't reflect this. And that really comes down to redistricting. It's because the Republicans in the state of Wisconsin have so gerrymandered the districts in our state that it's marginalizing the voters and the voices of the people across the state of Wisconsin. And the Democrats know that it is the people of Wisconsin that should be choosing their elected officials, not so much that the elected officials should be choosing their people.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio. Wisconsin State Rep Melissa Sargent joins us on the phone. Melissa, specifically on the campaign finance reform, what areas are you looking to approach in this, and what do you want to do?
Well, so with campaign finance, in 2015, Speaker Voss and his Republican colleagues introduced a number of pieces of legislation that, quite frankly, allowed all things that people hate about politics to go unchecked. Unlimited money coming in to the state of Wisconsin, and corporate influence, and being able to do things through shadow organizations. And ultimately, what has happened because of these bills is that there are nonstop, unchecked negative attack ads and lies being brought out through the campaign cycle. And one of the things that I heard from a constituent when I was doing doors is they're receiving more mail pieces than they would need to ever wallpaper their home. And quite frankly, that's not how it is that we define good, honest campaigning. So the bill that I introduced, that I'm going to be introducing, would stop the unlimited individual contributions of money to political parties, as well as to legislative campaign committees. And it would then stop that money from being unlimited amounts of it going directly to candidates without any sort of accountability. And finally, it would eliminate separate segregated funds to be abused and doing kind of shadow campaigns for and against people across the state of Wisconsin. We know that in order to restore integrity to campaigns, we need to make these changes. And unfortunately, the people that are in the building right now on the Republican side embraced this in 2015. So what we need to do is make sure that people across the state of Wisconsin realize that the Democrats in the legislature are committed to working hard for the people of our state. and that we're going to fight hard for them, and we're going to try to return the power to them, as opposed to giving the power to special interest groups, rich people, and the highest bidder.
Melissa, if the Dems don't address the dark money group loophole that we have going on here in the state of Wisconsin, thanks to the Wisconsin Supreme Court and the Republicans, if you're able to, give money to a cause anonymously to a third-party dark money group, and they spend the money in coordination with the campaign, effectively the use of that money is still there. Any plans on approaching that specific loophole?
Well, absolutely. There have been many horrible things that have happened in the legislature in the state of Wisconsin over the past 8 years, and there's a lot of work that we need to do in order to address the fact that people deserve access to their ballots in a fair and free way, that they deserve to know that where the money is coming from and who is giving that money, as well as to make sure that the lines that represent the districts that we each represent are done in a fair and balanced way. Unfortunately, the system is really rigged against all that happening currently. And what is exciting to me is that my Democratic colleagues in the legislature know that we need a fresh start in our state, and that in order to make this move forward, we need to be listening to the people of our communities, and they're asking for good, clean, transparent government. And we're committed to working forward for this. Unfortunately, it's a big mountain, but many of my Republican colleagues in the building campaigned on increasing transparency, decreasing money in politics, and working across the aisle. So it's time for us to hold them to those campaign promises.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We got a fine guest live via phone. She is State Rep Melissa Sargent from Madison, and the Democratic Legislative Caucus had a press conference this morning. And Melissa, I noted the fact you used a visual aid. Some would describe this as a 5-spoked Venn diagram, partisan gerrymandering, unlimited campaign contributions, taking away executive powers, blocking open records, closed meetings, and then the center, the hub of the wheel, is undermining democracy. Sort of a two-part question, Melissa. First and foremost, did the caucus have to research how to properly configure a Venn diagram? And also, did your caucus ever considering putting Scott Walker in the center spoke as a further visual aid?
Well, even my third grader knows what a good Venn diagram is and what a non-Venn diagram is, and he was absolutely upset by what it is that Governor Walker did under the name of Venn diagram. He wanted to get on TV and explain to everyone exactly what a Venn diagram is. So it is nice to know that my colleagues agree with my third grader and were able to actually show the people of the state of Wisconsin what a Venn diagram looks like. And you know what? I think that right now we need to be looking forward. Governor Walker is in the past. He lost. We need to make sure that the people of the state of Wisconsin know that we are looking forward and that we're going to be working in their best interest, and we've got their back. And that's the exciting thing about a changing of the guards. And unfortunately, because of all of these policies that were passed over the 8 years, it's a little bit harder in the legislature, but it is super exciting to have a governor, an attorney general, lieutenant governor, a treasurer, who know what it means to be the voices of and for the people of the state of Wisconsin.
Melissa, I'd like to turn the page forward on legalizing marijuana. We have always given you a lot of credit. You were the first state lawmaker. You have sponsored legislation. You have been very clear in your advocacy for full legalization of recreational marijuana for adults, tax it, regulate it. But even the issue of medicinal marijuana, I was overwhelmed by the support, especially for medicinal marijuana all across the state of Wisconsin. A variety of referendums demonstrated the sentiment of Wisconsin voters. And here we are. It's a new legislative calendar. And I'm a little concerned that even Gordon Hintz, now he was given something of a shopping list, but he didn't move marijuana up the priority list. Melissa Sargent, for your caucus, where does legalizing marijuana fall, be it medicinal, be it recreational? Will it be proposed this year, again, by you and your caucus? And how do we get from here to there?
Well, one of the exciting things in the November election is that over 50% of the people in the state of Wisconsin were able to vote on whether or not they believe the prohibition of marijuana in Wisconsin is working. And the message was loud and clear. Prohibition of marijuana in Wisconsin is absolutely not working, and that message was delivered from red communities and blue communities across the board. This is a mainstream issue. It's not, a Willie Street and Madison hippy-dippy issue. This is mainstream. There are business owners. There are parents, there are patients who very much know that we need to be providing opportunity to the people in the state of Wisconsin by legalizing marijuana. And I'm going to continue carrying this torch, hearing the voices of the people. I will be reintroducing my bill to fully legalize marijuana, and I look forward to being able to work with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle because, again, we need to know that the people of the state of Wisconsin are our bosses, and they have spoken loud and clear that it is time to legalize opportunity in the state of Wisconsin. It is past time for marijuana to not be on the prohibition list anymore.
Well, I was also at the Republican press conference, and Senator Fitzgerald, I questioned him even about medicinal marijuana. And I've heard it said, and I know that Tony Evers, at least during the campaign, had advocated and mentioned he might include legalizing medicinal marijuana in the state budget. Well, Scott Fitzgerald first pushed back and said, well, that'd be a policy item. Not like Republicans never stuck policy in their budget. But above and beyond that, said, once again, I don't see any support for that. It seems like, again, a no-brainer, a slam dunk, 88% support. I mean, hell, Waukesha, at least for medicinal, is approaching 80% support. Melissa Sargent, can Tony Evers put it in the budget? And is that the appropriate place for medicinal marijuana to get it through and get it passed?
Well, frankly, I think that Fitzgerald needs to get his ears cleaned because people of Wisconsin have spoken loud and clear that they want change when it comes to our marijuana laws in the state of Wisconsin. And frankly, legalization of marijuana in Wisconsin will create more jobs, increase our tax revenue more, and have more economic prosperity as well than the Foxconn deal without investing one thin dime of our taxpayer dollars in order to do it. So that to me sounds like a positive when it comes to budgeting. It is time for Wisconsin to be legalizing opportunity and making sure that the people know that their voices are heard. Prohibition is hurting an awful lot of people, and it is time for us to be moving forward on this policy.
Well, Melissa Sargent, if successful, I'd like to nominate my little buddy Dominic to be Weed Czar of the great state of Wisconsin.
Weed Czar!
Melissa, he's willing to serve the state in that role. We appreciate you, as always, Melissa Sargent, a fine state rep, a Democrat from Madison. She's a friend of ours, and she's been very courageous on this issue of legalizing recreational marijuana. One of the few, Melissa, but we certainly appreciate your advocacy.
I appreciate you having me on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. We got the best friends, people like Melissa Sargent, and of course you as well. And you can always join us. You can always contribute here at 844-967-2789. Devil's Advocates. We'll be right back on Real Resistance Radio.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
We've included a Venn diagram.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. That's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
I am sick and tired of big power brokers telling voters what's important instead of the other way around. So I joined the Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. It's a community of like-minded local progressives where the members help determine what issues are important. And With the aid of professional organizers and some of the top progressive strategists in Wisconsin, we make the powers that be take notice and action. We're working on fair elections, the climate crisis, immigrant rights, electing progressive candidates, and more. Plus, we have a campaign called Radioactive that supports this station and Real Resistance Radio. So, come help us reclaim our power as voters.
Become a member of the Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. Go to citizenactionwy.org.
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
And we're back. Thank you for listening. Devil's Advocates radio show, Real Resistance Radio. Phone lines open 844-967-2789.
Dominic, want to thank our most recent guest, a fine one, a friend of ours, State Rep Melissa Sargent. And that day when we asked her, Melissa, would you support full legalization, regulation, taxation of recreational marijuana? And she said, yes, I will. And in fact, shortly thereafter, put forth sponsored legislation. And if I recall correctly, our response was, hallelujah, sister.
I think I fell in love just a little bit that day.
844-967-2789. We're in love with our audience when they call or text the political party line.
Gary from Sussex, you are next. Thanks for calling today. Gary, what do you got for us?
Are we still in love?
I love you, man.
I love you, man.
Okay, I love you guys too. Hey, I was sitting there listening to you guys. You know how I feel about the recreational marijuana thing.
Remind me, Gary, how do you feel about it?
I'm okay with it.
All right.
Okay? But all the good Republicans that are conservatives, they're going to be just like me. If you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. I'm not in favor of legalizing marijuana for people that just sit there and get high. I'm just not. I'm in favor 100% in legalizing it for people who have, that are sick. And
all right, but what's the difference of having legal alcohol for people to get drunk, and that's okay, but you legalize marijuana, and that's not okay? Explain to me the difference of intoxication in your philosophy, Gary.
All right. I went through, one of my family members had a problem with drugs, okay? And we went to classes, my wife and I dealt with the people that were dealing with the doctors and and therapists and stuff like that.
Sure.
And they were saying that when you smoke pot, it actually changed your way of thinking and your brain nodules change. And once you're off of it, it takes a long time to reschool things back again. Alcohol, you can...
So never quit, Gary. I don't see your point, sir.
And I don't know what that means, Gary. I don't know what you're talking about, man. I've been smoking weed since I was 18 years old.
It changes your opinion on how you look at things.
It does. It makes me a whole lot more patient with people like you when they come up with ideas like this, Gary. You're welcome.
Gary, it makes us a lot cooler.
But, Gary, here's the point. I mean, if we're going to talk about the damage to society, Gary, alcohol and nicotine, legal drugs, regulated, way more damaging to the society, given any study, any historical context you want to look at, no question about it. What makes marijuana most dangerous is the fact that it is illegal, Gary. I've said it once, I'll say it again, I'll tell you. I'll do the challenge, the Dominic challenge. I'll take a bong hit for every shot you do, and the first one to die loses. Because I cannot smoke enough marijuana to OD, Gary. Do you understand that?
But what it does is, look, it was my son, and my son was an A student and an athlete. And the next thing you know, he just kind of gave up on life, and it just put us through hell for like 5 years.
And I totally get it, Gary. I'm not trying to dismiss it, but was alcohol part of the drug issue for your son.
Actually not. No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. He drank beer and stuff like that. And he really, get drunk once in a while. But, he came home stoned from school. The teachers warned us about it. His grades went from A to F's. He got kicked off football.
Well, sure.
Kicked out of wrestling.
Sure.
I mean, he just totally changed. How he graduated from high school is I have no idea, only because I actually went to school and sat in class with him to make sure he showed up.
But Gary, let me make a proposal that would help keep marijuana out of the high schools. Let's regulate it like it's alcohol. Let's make it illegal for teenagers. And unfortunately, I know it's illegal for all people currently, Gary, but here's the problem with drug dealers. They're not discerning. They don't card people while they're making an illegal transaction. So effectively, Gary, if you want to keep it out of the hands of high school students, I mean, this has been borne out by large Pew surveys, state of Colorado. The use amongst high school students of marijuana since legalization has gone down, sir. The black market is thriving right now. They'll sell it to teenage kids any day. Any kid in America, or at least the cool ones, know where to go score a bag of weed. Right here in the state of Wisconsin, you can do it in your hometown, Gary. And I'm telling you, if you want to change that proposition, you got to legalize it and regulate it and take the black market out of it.
Well, I guess it's, I have to see what happens in other states. As far as I'm concerned, I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I'm never going to use pot. Now, if I had a disease with cancer, yeah, me and Don would be hanging out together smoking until our brains fell out, But the thing is,
but what is it about having to wait to be on my deathbed to be able to, enjoy a little weed, man? Why do I got to be almost dead before, guys like you would say, oh, now it's okay? What about living my life now?
Gary, here's the difference between
Go ahead.
The only point I would make is the difference between a marijuana intoxication and an alcohol intoxication is once you're drunk, you're drunk. You're done. I mean, pretty much the day is over. If I start drinking at noon, my day is over at noon. There's no way I'm going to be productive. There's no way I'm going to do anything other than eat and sit around and hopefully not get behind the wheel of a car. But if I smoke a little marijuana at noon, by 1 o'clock, I'm ready to go back to work, Gary. I mean, it is a different affect on the body. Physiologically, you're not overwhelmingly intoxicated throughout the course of the day. It's just like a warm hug.
And hell, by 1:30, you're ready to go again.
Out on the back porch, I know how you boys operate. Come back with us. Only the most responsible avocation for conscientious objectionism. Come back with us and a fine guest, Eric Marsch. He is the executive director of the Southeastern Wisconsin NORML. They're the good guys, Gary. They want to legalize recreational marijuana. They want to legalize medical marijuana. Think about it in these terms. That's somebody's medicine. What if you were diabetic and the Republicans in the state of Wisconsin said, we don't believe in insulin. It's a gateway drug to eating more cake. I mean, think about it in those terms. It's ludicrous, is it not? Come back with us. Devil's Advocates, fine guest Eric Marsch, live in the Brady Street studio, and you on the phones as well at 844-967-2789. The happy hour, it starts right now.
Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers gotta hug.
We've included a Venn diagram.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
U.S. calls back workers. Brexit's crushing defeat. I'm Mike Moss. With tax returns piling up, the IRS is being forced to call 46,000 furloughed workers back in, even though they won't get paid because of the partial government shutdown. Congressman Rodney Davis says there isn't an easy answer.
We want to see our TSA agents get paid. We want to see our air traffic controllers get paid. We want to see our Border Patrol agents get paid. But there is a crisis at the southern border.
Senator Chuck Schumer urges the president to reopen the government.
He's not winning this fight. He ought to end the pain, open the government, and let us then debate border security, which each of us wants in different ways, and that's the American process.
The shutdown is now on its 25th day. The government of British Prime Minister Theresa May is on the brink after Parliament delivered an overwhelming rejection of her Brexit plan to withdraw from the European Union. Opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn.
Tonight's vote is the greatest defeat for a government since the 1920s in this House. This is a catastrophic defeat for this government.
Even May supports holding a no-confidence vote.
We need to confirm whether this government still enjoys the confidence of the House. I believe that it does, but given the scale and importance of tonight's vote, it's right that others have the chance to test that question if they wish to do so.
Confirmation hearings for Attorney General William Barr are underway before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Barr saying, if confirmed, he would reject a no-cause order from the president to fire Special Counsel Robert Mueller.
I want Special Counsel Mueller to discharge his responsibilities as a federal prosecutor and exercise the judgment that he's expected to exercise under the rules and finish his job.
Barr says Congress and the public should then be able to view the Mueller report. On Wall Street, the Dow up 155, S&P up 27. I'm Mike Moss.
Here's some great news.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Overwhelmingly votes to formally condemn white supremacy and white nationalism. Correspondent Linda Kenyon has the latest from Capitol Hill.
The yeas are 424, the nays 1.
The resolution follows remarks made by Iowa Republican Steve King, remarks deemed to be racist. But King says his comments were taken out of context. And to drive home his point,
let's vote for this resolution. I'm putting up a yes on the board here because what you say here is right, and it's true, and it's just.
The only member of the House to vote against the resolution was Democrat Bobby Rush, who said he preferred more stringent punishment for King in the form of censure. Linda Kenyon, Capitol Hill.
The partial government shutdown is slowing plans by some companies to issue stock to the public and potentially cutting off a key source of capital for the financial markets. The shutdown has all but darkened the SEC, the government agency overseeing the markets. I'm Mike Moss.
Does your dog itch, scratch,
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing.
Welcome to our good buddy, Congressman Mark Pocan. Mark, in some small part, this little radio product, the entire rationale for buying a radio station was opposition to Scott Walker. One person's telling me, be humble, Crute. Take a day and just be humble. And another person's telling me, no, dance on Scott Walker's grave. So, Congressman, I've always admired your sage advice. Sir, what should I do? How should I react to this?
We should waltz, we should polka, and we should two-step. We should be dancing on this right now. To your credit, and I do want to give you guys credit. In Milwaukee, we have seen a shift, especially the suburban areas, from when we had just conservative radio to having you guys there. We have seen a shift in that area, and that's important because I think when people hear ideas, we do better. And I want to thank you for being there and doing what you do.
Hashtag Walker bashing.
Bye, Felicia.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Wisconsin's Native American tribes are feeling the impact of the government shutdown. Federal funds that tribes receive from the government have been cut off since the shutdown started over 3 weeks ago. The funds are used for education, health care, law enforcement, food pantries, and other services. And Governor Tony Evers was in Milwaukee yesterday to talk to business and political leaders ahead of his State of the State address next week. He said his administration is pro-business, and he laid out an agenda that includes expanding Medicaid and increasing education funding. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight: cloudy skies, lows in the mid-20s. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 20s. Thursday, cloudy skies, slight chance of snow, and highs in the low 30s. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the Trifecta Tuesday 4 o'clock happy hour, and I am happy to announce we got a fine guest, Eric Marsch. He is the Executive Director, Southeastern Wisconsin Normal. Eric, welcome back to the big show. Another guy with a hell of a lot more hair than I got.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Great Eric, thanks for joining us once again. Now, I was at 3 press conferences today. I was at the Democratic Caucus, the Republican Caucus, and the Tony Evers press conference. And marijuana was brought up early, and the Democrats in their caucus, now it was on a laundry list of issues they were asked about all at once. And Gordon Hintz was pretty quick to say, maybe it's not time for that yet. Tony Evers didn't bring up the subject of marijuana. He apparently had met with the Republican caucus. I'm not sure that that's an issue he broached with them. And then I asked Scott Fitzgerald later in the day, the Senate Majority Leader on the Republican side, Scott, Senator, if you will, we see all these referendums. We see overwhelming support for legalized medicinal marijuana at the minimum. And Scott Fitzgerald told me and the audience in attendance, there's no support for that. I don't see it. So, Eric, new governance, new leadership, although some is the same, but I don't think we're any closer to legalized medicinal or recreational marijuana today than we were the day we elected Tony Evers.
Tony certainly hasn't been very vocal on the issue. In fact, I don't believe he's said a single word about cannabis, at least not publicly, since he's been elected. But having Scott Walker out...
Not entirely true. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I did quiz him at his budgetary listening session, and Tony Evers did tell me, I said, now you're hearing from the people. Mm-hmm. Have you been persuaded? Perhaps would you consider even going full recreational legalization in your budget, Tony, now that you hear how people overwhelmingly support this proposition? He said the right things that day, but I have not heard him make any overtures since on the topic of cannabis.
Right. Yeah, he'll obviously address it if it's brought up, but he certainly isn't a person bringing it up at all, despite the fact that it's I think it's fairly clear that the referendums put them over the top. It was a 30,000 vote margin. There were tons of people who were voting specifically on the cannabis referendums, and also voted up ticket for Evers. And I think a lot of people believe that if it weren't for those referendums, we'd still be having Scott Walker as our governor.
I think that's a great point, Eric. Do you think that perhaps Evers and some of the Dems, they kind of owe this election win to this cannabis referendum?
Yeah, I agree.
And should they be doing more to address it then, in your mind? I mean, what do you think?
Oh, I definitely think they should
stick it in the budget.
I mean, regardless of whether or not they owe the election win to the cannabis referendums, the referendums were overwhelmingly supportive. And even if Evers had won by a wide margin, that the referendums wouldn't have made a difference. It's very clear where the public support is at. And then we have the new governors in Illinois and Minnesota talking very openly about how they want to legalize recreational cannabis. And Evers isn't even being vocal on the medical side of it, despite the fact that in our survey, he said that, as being a cancer survivor, he understands the need for patients to have options. And with upwards of like 88% in Kenosha County and like an average of, I think it was like 79% support across all the counties that were polled, it's overwhelming that medical cannabis is something that we need, and it can lower opiate addiction rates by 25%, it's been shown across the country. And it's an urgent issue. There are so many people who are suffering right now who can benefit from medical cannabis, and it's just obscene that it's not being treated as the urgent, important, hugely supported issue that it actually is. It's not even controversial anymore. I mean, in the public eye. So I don't understand why politicians continue to treat it as controversial.
And when you talk about a public support for any issue at 79%, I mean, you can't get 79% of Wisconsinites to agree the world is round, Eric.
Right?
It's really challenging out there, at least with some of the Trump voters. But I'm not understanding, Eric, and I know you don't have all the world's answers, but I'm not understanding. It is almost as if the cannabis constituency is being dismissed once again. We're being relegated once again. Tony got what he needed from us. He's the governor now, and we're to be forgotten and put upon a shelf.
Right. I mean, Tony certainly had the time to meet with Brian Simonson from Madison Normal before the election when he was hoping to win our votes, but it's just been crickets when we've been trying to reach out to him since then. And I think maybe that's part of the problem with having elected, I mean, I don't want to say that's the problem with electing like an educator, but it's because, I mean, teachers are great people, and, I think it's great that we have a teacher that is governor, given all the things that Scott Walker did to teachers and to the education system here in Wisconsin. But I think that might, his perception...
Maybe he's biased from the old news and the old studies and the reefer madness from back in the day.
I think he's afraid of like having the perception of like being the teacher governor and then, hey, I'm going to legalize weed as well. And it's, as if that's somehow saying that kids should use weed and that, kids are looking up to him to be an example. And if he makes too many moves on this, that it can come across as encouraging children to use it. And I think that's, a misguided perception on his part, if that is his perception. But if that's not his perception, I don't understand what the holdup is.
Well, Eric, he had the greatest name recognition, Tony Evers, because of his position as the superintendent of the Department of Public Instruction. He had been through some statewide elections prior. But when you look at the dim gubernatorial field, Tony Evers was probably, as near as I could tell, the only one that was not publicly advocating for legalized marijuana, at least medicinally, recreationally in most cases. I mean, hell, even the Libertarian was with us. But Tony Evers really didn't make the same sort of vocal expression, the same sort of advocacy that the others did. And I'm wondering at this point, and, it's early in his term, but, are we already having second thoughts? Did we pick the wrong Democrat?
I mean, I was a supporter of Mike McCabe, so Tony Evers was certainly not my first choice, but I'm certainly glad he's governor over Scott Walker. But yeah, I mean, he sounded, I know that he is in general supportive of medical cannabis. He would definitely sign it if it came across his desk. I wish that he would. What we really want him to do is push more for it, more vocally. To have a medical cannabis bill introduced, and we want him to put it in the budget specifically. We're asking him to put full recreational and medical use in the budget. But I mean, at a very minimum, we should have medical cannabis in there because there's just it's not. That's the thing that again is not even a controversial issue. But just in the last 24 hours, we've had over 900 people send an email, a pre-written email to Governor Evers asking him to put cannabis legalization in the budget. And, you know, that would raise $130 million a year in our budget to spend on things like roads and education. And
under the most conservative of estimates, I think it's going to be closer to $200 million a year.
Right.
But that's what the LAB under Scott Walker said would be the minimum return if we simply legalize recreational marijuana in the state of Wisconsin. Folks, you are listening to The Devil's Advocates. Got a fine guest in the Brady Street studios. He is Eric Marsch, Executive Director, Southeastern Wisconsin NORML. They're the good girls and guys that believe in legalized marijuana like we do. So we know that Tony Evers can put forth whatever he wants in the budget. I did ask, as I mentioned, Scott Fitzgerald earlier today, the Senate Majority Leader, you know, he claims there's no support in his caucus.
This is just, insane.
Which, of course, doesn't reflect the will of the Wisconsin voters. But even if that is true, why do we have to drag Tony Evers kicking and screaming? Now, he can claim, and I know Scott Fitzgerald claimed, well, this is a policy issue. We don't put policy issues into the budget, but historically speaking, Republicans have had no qualms putting policy issues into the budget, and if nothing else, it expresses the priority of the new governor. Even if they destroy his budget, throw that gasoline they brought to the press conference and burn Tony's budget, at least Tony Evers can stand with us and say, I advocated, I put up the good fight, I stuck it in the budget. I see no indication that Tony Evers will do that. I hope he is persuaded by this newest email campaign, Eric.
Right. And the governor down in Illinois now, Pritzker, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's introducing a budget which has cannabis legalization written into it. He's writing his budget proposal on the assumption that cannabis will be legalized there, and so that will put a lot of pressure then to create these regulations around a regulated industry for cannabis legalization in Illinois by passing that budget. And so there's precedent nationally for using a budget proposal to legalize cannabis as well down there. And also, I mean, it is relevant to the budget because $130 million a year.
Right. That's money that's going to come into the state. And, of course, there's also the job creation as well. There's also the fact that we will not have the persecution. One of the other issues going on here in the state of Wisconsin under Governor Walker and the Republicans, truth in sentencing, right? Well, you get a lot of folks that may be good on probation and they're not supposed to smoke any weed. They smoke a joint now. They didn't break any real bad laws, victimless crimes and all that, but now their probation is revoked. And now we've got 25,000 people in jail. This would also help save money in that regard. What about, I know you mentioned lobbying day. What are you hoping to, when is that coming up and what is NORML doing? What are you hoping to accomplish that day?
Yeah, so we have a lobby day coming up on Thursday, February 21st, and we're still kind of working out all the details and getting a permit and all that. We're going to be more publicly announcing that in the next few days. But we're encouraging people to RSVP with us, and then we'll schedule a meeting with their representatives for them.
No, continue.
And so we'll schedule meetings with their representatives for them. So that way, if there's several people from one district coming in, we'll be able to have them all meet together as a group. And because we just want to make it easy for people to be able to come in and talk with the representatives.
So this will be in Madison.
This will be in Madison.
The Capitol. Go in, knocking on doors, find your rep, tell them to legalize marijuana in the state of Wisconsin.
Right, and we'll be encouraging people to come even if they don't do an RSVP for it, because we're going to have meetings set up also with Voss, Fitzgerald, and some of the committee leaders as well that people can go into if they didn't RSVP.
You think Voss and Fitzgerald are going to show up to that meeting?
Well, I mean, at least an aide. It's at least an aide.
You'd hate to see some Republican get a contact high and be a little less square. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates right here on Real Resistance Radio. We got a good friend live in studio. He is Eric Marsch, Executive Director, Southeastern Wisconsin NORML. We'll open up the phone lines to you as well at 844-967-2789. But right now, we got to go take the 420 break.
Catch me, no. I'm not gonna let 'em catch me.
No, I don't see it. I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Ooh, I'm going to hit the pause button right there.
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamsters Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
On Election Day 2016, Madison lost its only progressive radio station, and I've taken strides every day since to bring Lefty Talk back to my hometown. I'm Crute, an opinionated devil on the radio, but I'm also Crute, the entrepreneur and a fiduciary to over 400 clients and their investment in real estate for the last decade. 2 years ago, I put my money where my mouth was, bought and built a radio station in Milwaukee. I've learned hard and expensive lessons, leaving me wiser and uniquely qualified to replicate the effort. I have the license. Now is the time to build an independent 24-hour FM talk radio station in Madison, a durable, rapid response platform that Republicans can't take away with a lame duck. Unique deferral of 2018 cap gains through Opportunity Zone investment possible. Join me, accredited investors, partner with a fellow progressive. Email Crute at darnwi.com. This opportunity subject to an SEC 506C filing.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
When they go low, we get high. Tom and Crute are the devil's advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio. Streaming on the YouTubes and the Facebook. A lot of hair in the studio right now. You can also check us out on Twitter at Devil Radio. And always your calls on the party line, 844-967-2789.
Before our fine guest, Eric Marsch, and he's been generous, he stuck around, Executive Director of Southeastern Wisconsin Normal, he got a little distracted. We were gesturing, and after your comment about all the good-looking hair in the studio, I got one more gesture for you, buddy.
Fancy Brian growing the hair out too, man. It's looking quite fine.
I can see it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like a Greek god or the dude from Superman 2 who can't use his laser vision.
A Greek god.
Eric, I got to ask you about a thriving industry in the state of Wisconsin, be it hemp or be it the CBD industry. It wasn't so long ago that Republicans objected to this, and now there's a CBD shop opening up on every corner. This is a thriving commercial enterprise. I want to get your opinion on the small aspect of the marijuana industry that has been legalized, the CBD, the non-THC version. Want to get your opinion, Eric.
Just about CBD in general, or about the industry? I mean,
well, that and working within the construct of Wisconsin law.
Yeah, I mean, so CBD is legal as long as it's derived from hemp, because CBD is still technically a Schedule I drug.
Such a joke.
Right. And in fact, I hear that the Republicans are thinking now about regulating CBD further, because right now, as long as it comes from hemp, there's absolutely no regulations at all. I mean, anyone can sell it and anyone can buy it. There's no age restrictions on it. But all it does is kind of relax you a bit. And I mean, obviously there's a bunch of other medical benefits as far as like treating seizure disorders and things like that. But I mean, as far as like, the effects that anyone, without any kind of medical condition they're trying to treat might seek it out for. I mean, it's mildly relaxing.
It's a health supplement for those who don't have seizures or things like that.
Right. I mean, it's not going to like get you high. It's not going to be impaired. I've smoked some. You can get hemp buds that look and smell just like regular marijuana buds, but you smoke it and like you don't get like a high from it. You just get kind of like a peacefulness to you. But it's not anything like impairing.
So it's kind of like
that.
drinking
really
near beer, or what is that? What a waste!
I guess
of
I've never
effort.
tried near beer, but
like that O'Doul's or something.
Right. No, I've seen it on the shelves. I've never been interested.
I don't think I've ever purchased it either. Do you think it should be a regulated industry? CBD, I'm talking about. The contents, the
labeling.
I mean, I think that I think it should be regulated to the extent just that if someone's making a claim that it's got this much CBD in it, that it should be in fact what is on the label, and it should also be regulated to make sure there's no like pesticides and bad chemicals, heavy metals in there.
Yep.
But I mean, it's just basic food safety is as far as the regulations I think should go on it. I mean, it's safer than Tylenol.
Well, and that's the benefit of legalization and regulation. And I mean, it's not necessarily a free-for-all. I saw an article from Detroit in Michigan last week. Some dispensary got in trouble because they had too much mold. They had pesticides. I mean, they had, you don't want these things. And that's why that's why you want to buy them over the counter. That's why going to California, going to Colorado, going to these states where it is legal, it's really nice. You can go in. It reminds me, Ed, here in the state of Wisconsin, of like, alcohol prohibition. Go get the bathtub gin. What do you want? Doesn't matter. Here's what you got. What color can I get? Black. That's it. I mean, you only get what the drug dealer has. And it's nice to go to a retail environment, a safe environment, and be able to pick through and know that the stuff's not moldy, it's not full of Roundup, and know that you're going to get, the kind of cannabis that you want.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to in legalization. Or another thing I'm looking forward to is being able to pick out like specific strains.
Right.
Because I mean, we're talking about CBD. The other main one everyone knows about is THC, but there's actually over 100 different cannabinoids and all kinds of different terpenes. Terpenes are what give the flavor and the smell to the cannabis, and those also have psychoactive effects as well. I mean, it's like essential oils. What basically that is the terpenes. That gives you the effects if you use essential oils for various things. And so the cannabinoids and the terpenes together have like synergistic effects. And so like if one strain of cannabis can be very energizing and make you want to, go on like an adventure and go hiking and stuff like that. Whereas another one just makes you want to like sit on your couch and eat chips and watch TV. And so that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to, and as are a lot of people in legalization, is being able to choose exactly what strain. And there's even, it's not just the spectrum of energetic to couch lock. There's, all kinds of different dimensions in as far as what it can do in terms of appetite stimulation and all kinds of other effects as well.
And plus all the ancillary businesses, the tastings, the weddings. There's all sorts of parties, cannabis parties. I mean, there is a lot to go around this industry. And of course, notwithstanding that there is no legitimate reason in my mind why this should remain illegal in this country, especially when you got nicotine and alcohol you can go get down the street.
Right.
Eric Marsch, Executive Director, Southeastern Wisconsin NORML. If people want to get involved with the National Organization to Reform the Marijuana Laws, how do they do so?
You can check out our website, sewinormal.org. Check us out on Facebook, Southeastern Wisconsin NORML, and NORML is NORML. And contact us through there. We also have our meetings on the second Tuesday of every month at the downtown Milwaukee Public Library at 6 p.m. Next one will be on February 12th, 6 p.m. We'll be meeting in room 2B at the library.
Well, here's the good news, Eric. That will not interfere with the 2-year anniversary of Real Resistance Radio. That will be on Tuesday, February 5th. And there will be some cannabis-friendly attendees in the audience,
right,
I strongly suspect. Hopefully you'll be one of them, Eric.
I'll see you there.
You're invited. Come back with us. You're all invited to stick around. More Devil's Advocates. The phone line's open, 844-967-2789.
No, I don't see it. I don't see the support. I don't support it.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Well, I'm going to take a nice long rest now. I can stop rolling over in my grave now that Walker is no longer governor. Thank you, Real Resistance Radio.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Hi, Resistance Radio listeners. This is Kim Schrader, the president of the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association. We are the 4,600 educators who make Milwaukee's public education system possible. MTA members are the guardians of public education because every single day we are fighting to strengthen and protect public schools our students deserve. MTA educators are leading the fight in Milwaukee Public Schools for smaller class sizes, more recess, physical education, art, and music opportunities for every child in MPS. MTA educators are the champions for healthier school meals, positive discipline practices, equitable schools, and schools that partner with parents. MTA members are the guardians of public education, and we are proud to teach all children, regardless of their zip code. To learn more, follow us on Facebook at the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, it's my job to make sure your network is up 99.999% of the time. Technology is constantly evolving, and keeping your business up to date in an ever-changing environment can be a hassle. At Five Nines, we're here to help. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. Better IT gives your business a competitive advantage. Learn how Five Nines can help at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes, exclusively on Real Resistance Radio. Call in live at 844-967-2789 and give your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on local and national topics. Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to noon. It will not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know. That's The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes on Real Resistance Radio. Always streaming live on realresistanceradio.com.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Jake Patterson made his first court appearance yesterday. The 21-year-old man from Douglas County is charged with kidnapping and murder in the Jamie Kloss case. Wisconsin's Native American tribes are feeling the impact of the government shutdown. A new report says the staff at Lincoln Hills is not keeping the cells for inmates suicide resistant. And Governor Tony Evers was in Milwaukee yesterday to talk to business and political leaders ahead of his State of the State address next week. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight: cloudy skies, lows in the mid-20s. Mostly sunny tomorrow, highs only in the upper 20s. Thursday, cloudy with a slight chance of snow and highs in the low 30s. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, want to thank our most recent guest, a fine one, friend of ours. He is Eric Marsch, Executive Director, Southeastern Wisconsin Normal, and he's got a hell of a head of hair. I got to tell you, I'm a little envious.
Oh, come on, Crute.
I had hair as a young man, but never had that much hair.
You could grow out the back mullet thing, look like...
Do a Trump comb over.
Oh, there you go. That'd be great.
No, thank you, sir.
You look like Gallagher or something. You'd be all right.
You know, Dom, on top of the trifecta of press conferences I attended at the Wisconsin State Capitol, snuck back, as I mentioned, I ate a little of the
wife's leftover lasagna. Boy, was it good. I felt like Garfield. I was just gobbling it up.
You didn't have Mother's hamburgers like Walker?
No, none of Mother's hamburgers. But I did watch some of the Bill Barr hearing, the William Barr. He is the Attorney General nominee of Donald Trump. And I'm going to give you a few impressions quickly, Dom, and then I believe we've got some sound. Bill Barr strikes me as being competent, being very intelligent. Clearly, he was in his element. Although there were some things, a gap of employment. At least he hadn't been with the Justice Department in some number of years. And that played to his advantage in some small part. There were some questions he was differential on. I don't know Justice Department current policy. It's been a while. But overall, certainly he struck me as competent and ready to serve in this role. And while we, the Democrats, might not want to see this, we know that Bill Barr wrote some article against Mueller, or at least against the rationale for having a special counsel investigation. But Dom, as we discussed on this show prior, Bill Barr and Bob Mueller, as he calls him, they're good friends. The wives do study together. And Bill Barr, during the course of the day, he was asked lots of questions about how he is going to handle the Mueller investigation. And first blush, everything he said was the right answer. I mean, from the public's perspective, whether or not he's telling the truth, I have no idea, Dom.
He gave all the indications.
But he's saying all the right things.
Mostly, Crute, and we'll get to some sound, but I want to point this one out from the Washington Post. Barr's big caveat on publicly releasing the Mueller report. Now, it is my humble opinion that no matter what treasonous trash they find out about Trump and his crew, that's got to come out. Here is what the Post writes. Trump's Attorney General nominee, Barr, made two things abundantly clear on Tuesday. He would publicly release the Russia report consistent with the law, and he's really good friends with Robert Mueller. And here's the quote. It is very important that the public and Congress be informed of the results of the special counsel's work, Barr said in his opening statement. My goal will be to provide as much transparency as I can, consistent with the law, unquote. Consistent with the law is not, of course, a straightforward yes, and it is a notable caveat as the White House gears up to potentially assert executive privilege to block part of the Mueller report, parts of which that Barr has previously suggested could be fatally misconceived. Barr was asked 4 times in the first 3 hours of Tuesday's confirmation hearing whether he would share the investigation findings with Congress. Here's what he told Lindsey Graham. Consistent with regulations and the law? Yes. Here's what he told Dianne Feinstein. I am going to make as much information available as I can consistent with the rules and regulations that are part of the special counsel regulations. To Pat Leahy, I'm in favor of as much transparency as there can be, consistent with the rules and the law. And finally, to Amy Klobuchar, that certainly is my goal and intent. Apparently aware of Democrats' concerns over his previous comments about the probe, Barr made sure to indirectly emphasize his friendship with special counsel by referring to him in the first name. I will follow the special counsel's regulations scrupulously and in good faith, Barr said Tuesday, and on my watch, Bob will be allowed to finish his work.
Well, Dom, at least it was a consistent caveat that the Attorney General nominee gave over and over and over. I will do so within the confines of the law. Here's one thing I was encouraged by, according to The Hill Tuesday, that President Trump, let me try this again. Barr says Trump won't be allowed to correct the Mueller report. Well, did anyone think that the accused should have the right to affect law enforcement's report of findings?
Yeah, I think Giuliani,
other than Giuliani
suggested that.
Anyways, Dom, a direct quote from Bill Barr, that will not happen, Barr said during his confirmation hearing. Senator Patrick Leahy asked Barr, who Trump nominated in December to serve at the helm of the Justice Department, to respond to Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani's claim that the president's legal team should be permitted to correct the final report Mueller is expected to submit to the Justice Department at conclusion of the investigation. Here's a quote. This one from Giuliani. As a matter of fairness, they should show it to you so we can correct it if they're wrong. They're not God after all. They could be wrong. Much like you are often wrong, Rudy Giuliani.
Oh, much like I am almost a god. Do we have some sound from Bill Barr, Billy Boy, Billy Beer Boy? Let's hear what Barr has to say.
Billy.
Just roll them up, Brian.
I believe it is vitally important that the special counsel be allowed to complete his investigation.
Yay!
I believe it is in the best interest of everyone, the President, Congress, and the American people, that this matter be resolved by allowing the special counsel to complete his work. But ultimately, I agreed to serve because I believe strongly in public service. I revere the law. I love the Department of Justice and the dedicated professionals who serve there. And I believe that I can do a good job leading the department in these times.
If that is indeed true, and if he is indeed a competent man who, is serving his nation, why would Donald Trump nominate him? Of what purpose would he serve if he is the straight man? If he's going to do things the right way, quote unquote, why would Donald Trump want William Barr as the Attorney General of the United States? I mean, hell, even Napolitano said once he sees Mueller's evidence, talking about Bill Barr, once the new Attorney General is read in on the evidence, he could turn on Donald Trump on a dime. And if he is truly a statesman, Dom, I suspect he will.
Well, I mean, I think perhaps he got the nomination, because he was floating that paper around to every attorney and cohort around Trump. I mean, lots of Trump folks were reading that paper that he did, where he emphasized the power, almost limitless power in some readings of the executive branch and of Trump. So Trump probably loved to hear that, and loved that this guy, a former Bush Attorney General, basically saw it his way. Now, after this testimony, I'm not clear, but as you mentioned, he certainly seems to be saying the right things. But this is the age of Trump. Doesn't matter what they say. It's about what they do.
The senator from Hawaii, Hirano, I believe her name, did question Barr and basically considered his prior writings a political act, an act of politics. And she was very clear she wanted to paint him with that. Now, I don't know if she did a great job making it stick, but I got her point. I think it was certainly a political act. He was saying, look at me, I believe like you do, President Trump. 844-967-2789. If you believe like we do, call us on the phone and tell us how cool we are.
Wisco Paul, you are up. You'll get the last note in this segment. What do you got for us today?
Well, first of all, thanks for taking my call. It's called Trump fatigue. You just get sick of it. It just never ends. But on another subject, I sure hope Tony legalizes medical marijuana. I hope he could get that done. Well, I would hope in the next couple of years. And then after that, marijuana should be legalized, period. This is an old guy talking. And taxed, because there's so much good that could be done with the money from legalized marijuana, the tax money. You're not going to stop it anyway. And other than maybe, I don't even know if it even hurts anybody, so to speak. So you guys are correct in that. And I hope Tony gets that done, and I'm going to call him and give him my opinion on that. And that's
I think I know the phone
today.
number, Paul.
What?
I think I know the phone number. I believe the governor's office at the Capitol, 608-266-1212. Call Tony Evers. Tell him if you want legalized marijuana in the state of Wisconsin, if you feel like we do, and even an old guy like Wisco Paul, willing to throw his support behind medical marijuana. Well, shouldn't we all? This is somebody's medicine being denied to them by the governor of the state of Wisconsin and, of course, the Republican legislators. Come back with us. Don't get lost. Got to turn the fine AMs off. But RealResistanceRadio.com, that streams 24/7. And the phone lines, they're working as well. 844-967-2789.
Billy. Whoa, Billy. This is a biggie.
Good evening, everyone. Due to FCC regulations and that we are an AM daytime radio station, this now concludes our broadcast day. But you don't have to leave us. We do stream online 24/7 at realresistanceradio.com. That's realresistanceradio.com. Or check us out on the TuneIn app at WRRD. For those of you already streaming, we now continue regular programming, and please welcome your friends from the radio. Say hello, everyone. WRRD 1510 AM and WTTN 1580 AM, Real Resistance Radio. Good night, everyone.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
The Devil's Advocates.
James Santel, he's a former U.S. attorney. He's our guest live on Brady.
Once again, a pleasure to be with you, gentlemen, to talk about the latest news breaking as we speak.
The FBI raided Michael Cohen, Trump's personal attorney, but once they got there, then they went back and got a more thorough warrant and said, we'll take everything.
My first reaction is you need to teach criminal constitutional law. You've got it just right in terms of the process.
They are kind of a big deal.
This is a really big deal.
The Devil's Advocates. We drink when we toast when we drink.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day, but you can still join us on the phones, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I understand we have a little more sound of the Attorney General nominee, William Barr. I suspect he will soon be Donald Trump's second Attorney General. And, of course, there's the acting Attorney General, Matt Whitaker, the goofy guy, you know, who lied about, being an academic All-American while playing football at Iowa. I understand, Dom, it's being reported today Matt Whitaker must give public testimony before the Democratic House A subcommittee. That's coming up in February, much like the testimony of Michael Cohen. That's must-hear radio. I can't wait to broadcast that one live. But Bill Barr, he's the news of the day, Dom. That is the big hearing in D.C. today. And let's bring more sound for our audience. Where are we up to?
Well, Dianne Feinstein asked him whether it would be an abuse of power for the president to stop him from continuing with the investigation.
I think it would be a breach of the president's duties to faithfully execute the law. It would be an abuse of power.
An abuse of power. I mean, again, continuing to say, William Barr, all the right things, at least in my mind. Now, I'm not clear if Trump is listening to this, that he's too hip to this, but let's hear some more.
I am not going to do anything that I think is wrong, and I will not be bullied into doing anything I think is wrong by anybody, whether it be editorial boards or Congress or the president. I'm going to do what I think is right.
Just like we always do right here on Real Resistance Radio.
Where are we? Are you sure? Why am I here?
I was going to say the Devil's Advocates, but, you know, they're interchangeable. We're super cool no matter what you call us. Dom, over at the Raw Story, one of my favorite sources, I've got one last article to put a bow on the day's events.
The Raw Story. All right, what is it, man?
Here are 10 disturbing moments from Trump's Attorney General nominee hearing. I'm going to jump over the body of the work and just get down to the top 10 list. Number 1, Barr doesn't pledge to follow the ethics officials' advice on recusing himself from investigations. So, in other words, Barr is not going to recuse himself. Even if he finds himself conflicted, he's not going to go seek an ethics opinion. He's not going to recuse. I'll read. And perhaps the biggest takeaway of the day, Barr confirmed an answer he had already given to the Senate in writing. while he will consult with ethics officials about whether to recuse from investigations, including those involving the president, he did not pledge to follow their guidance. Here's the quote. Under the regulations, I make the decision. No recusal necessary, Dom, because he makes the decision.
Didn't the current AG already do the same exact thing? Disregard the ethics suggestion that he recuse himself? And, I don't need to do that.
Well, I'd have gotten to that momentarily, Dom. This is particularly disturbing because Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker, who clearly appeared to be appointed in an effort for the president to gain control of the Mueller probe, reportedly refused an ethics official's recommendation to recuse from it.
Yes, exactly.
Number 2 of the disturbing moments from the Bill Barr nominee hearing, he did not commit to making Mueller's report public.
Right.
Lots of caveats. Barr's comments on the so-called Mueller report were somewhat complicated because, as he correctly pointed out, Mueller is not directed to release a report under the special counsel's guidelines. Instead, Mueller will submit a report to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General may or may not then decide to release a public version of the report. Barr said he would try to get out as much information as possible under the regulations. But when Senator Amy Klobuchar asked specifically if he would commit to make public all of Mueller's report's conclusions, even if some of the evidence supporting the conclusions can't be made public, Barr only had saying, "That's certainly my goal and intent."
I got it here as well, Crute, the Raw story. Number 3, he said he didn't know what the Constitution's emoluments clause says. One of the enduring violations of the Trump presidency has been his flouting of the Constitution's emoluments clause, which forbids public officers from taking forms of payment from foreign governments. Lawsuits are currently progressing against the president and the administration in this matter, but when pressed about the issue, Barr implausibly expressed ignorance. Quote, I think there is a dispute about what the emoluments clause relates to. I had not personally researched the emoluments clause. I can't even tell you what it says at this point.
How convenient.
I'm going to have to read that and get back to you, folks. Thanks for asking.
Dominic, when asked about the reported counterintelligence probe into the president, William Barr brought up text from Lisa Page and Peter Strzok.
Oh, that's Trump's guy for sure. I mean, lovers?
The lovers.
Did he say lovers?
I do not know. Let me keep reading from the Raw story. While he's implausibly uninformed about the Constitution, Barr is impeccably informed about right-wing talking points. When he was asked about the reported counterintelligence probe of the president and whether such an investigation would have gone through layers of review, Barr claimed ignorance. Instead, he deflected and cited the text of former FBI agents Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, who became Fox News' favorite boogeyman in the Russia probe after it was revealed they had sent disparaging text about Trump to each other while they were both highly criticized, both internally and externally. They haven't been found to take in any official actions based on their anti-Trump views.
Crute, number 5, Barr said he has no reason to doubt that the Russians attempted to interfere in our election. The Raw story writes, Barr's comments on the issue seem to display more wiggle room and more uncertainty about the matter than informed officials have usually displayed. There's no serious doubt that the Russians not only attempted to interfere in the election, Crute, but they did.
Number 6, if Mueller decides to subpoena the president, Barr may choose to interfere. When asked whether he would allow Mueller to subpoena the president if he chooses, Barr would not give a firm answer. This is particularly disturbing because, as Trump's handpicked attorney general, it would be impossible to treat his decision to veto a proposed Mueller subpoena of the president as an objective and impartial choice, Dom.
Number 7, Barr. He states that he agreed with former Attorney General Jeff Sessions' move to make it harder for the federal government to control local police forces. When Sessions left the Justice Department, his last major move was to constrain the department's ability to oversee the checks and check abuses of power by local police, a regressive move in the era of Black Lives Matter and the continuing revelations of law enforcement's abuses of power. Barr said he agreed with Sessions' action.
I believe that was the discussion of consent agreements, and Barr's not a believer in the consent agreement, much like Jeff Sessions. I almost cast an aspersion. I guess there's no need to. Just saying his name is aspersion enough. Dominic, number 8, he believes asylum seekers are abusing the asylum system. Barr also clearly shares Sessions and Trump's anti-immigrant views. He accused asylum seekers at the border of abusing the system, a characterization that demeans vulnerable families seeking safety in the United States.
Number 9, Crute, this is concerning. Klobuchar asked if he would jail reporters for doing their jobs, and he didn't say no. The Trump administration has been obsessed with stopping leaks, at least those leaks that make Trump himself look bad, a priority that can quickly start to impede on the freedom of press if journalists are forced to reveal their sources. When asked directly by Klobuchar about the issue, Barr wasn't willing to say he won't jail reporters for doing their job. This was an easy question to answer, and he botched it.
Don't be calling me for bail money, man. That's all I'm saying. Although no one's ever accused you of being a journalist.
Exactly.
Number 10, he backed Trump's bogus talking points on the wall. Unsurprisingly, in addition to his comments about asylum seekers, the nominee also engaged in Trump's anti-immigrant rhetoric on a number of fronts. He attacked sanctuary cities, backed Trump's call for a wall or barriers, and even claimed that barriers would help fight drug trafficking. He made this claim even though, as he admitted, the majority of drugs coming into the country come through ports of entry. It's far from clear Trump's border wall would reduce illegal drug importation at all, especially if its construction and monitoring distracted from other work at points of entry.
Put the wall at the point of entry. Huh? See how I fixed that problem?
That piece, Cody Fenwick, originally at the Alternate, but I found it at the Raw Story.
You love the Raw Story.
I do love the Raw
All
Story.
right, so now, knowing these 10 disturbing moments from Trump's Attorney General's nominee hearing, what are your thoughts? Are you concerned? Do you think this is more of the same kind of crew that runs around with Trump?
Well, I think it is perhaps more of the same, but I would say with the distinguishing difference that at least he's competent and capable of doing the job. He's held this position before. You may disagree with his notion that you get out of presidential investigations by pardoning all the actors, as he did during George H.W. Bush's tenure, Dom. I certainly am not embracing or endorsing this nominee, but I think it is very clear that he didn't you-know-what himself today. He seemed calm. He seemed rational.
Didn't crap the bed, Crute.
He seemed composed. No, he didn't crap the bed. And I think anything short of a full crapping of the bed, and he's going to be the next Attorney General of the United States, and I think in all likelihood he will have Republican support. Nothing that he said today will dissuade Republicans from being a yes, especially Ron Johnson.
Especially jailing those journalists. You go to jail, Crute. Go to jail.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Folks, want to thank all our fine guests today. They included Wisconsin State Rep Melissa Sargent, a fine Dem from Madison, she's a friend of ours, and Eric Marsch, the Executive Director, Southeastern Wisconsin Normal, he's a friend of ours as well. Lots of friends today, Dom. It was another big show. You must all be so proud of us when we do this day after day, putting together the greatest radio show ever for your listening enjoyment right here on Real Resistance Radio. We are the Devil's Advocates. Drop the mic. We're done here. We'll do it again tomorrow when it's Hump Day. Hump Day! See you tomorrow on the radio.
Let it roll, baby, roll. Let it roll, baby, roll.
Well, I guess I have good genes.
If it's possible, would you let me know
Am I under investigation?
We've included a Venn diagram.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and